Okay.
Hey there. Devil no. Yeah, no, this ain't for me.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. I hope everyone's having a great day today. Hey everyone, hey Menacing, Golden, Anowak, Hopkins. Hey everyone, how you guys doing? I hope you guys are all having a great day today. Yeah, I'm sorry I started the stream kind of late today. The Sunday stream for GTA will start way earlier than this. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Hey everyone. Yeah, Mafia 3 and I will say this recent part of Mafia 3 that I uploaded, I think is the first part that did not get demonetized. Let me just see. Yeah, it's still not demonetized. I'm actually surprised by that. So yeah, it's the first part of Mafia 3 that's not demonetized, where every single other part is demonetized. Still laughing at that alligator eating the recruit. The thing is, I don't know if he survived that, if he came back or something, or that was the most bizarre thing ever. Yeah. Honestly, that part with the gator had me falling on my chair. Yeah, that was really funny. No, I don't do Bogdan glitches. No, I just help people grind on GTA. I got a new phone. What kind of phone, April? You know, I'm probably gonna put that into a short. By the way, that clip with the alligator, I'll probably put that in the short. That was funny. I played Minecraft a little bit, but I never really got into it. No. You didn't know gators can eat people in Mafia 3? No, I didn't. Mafia 3 or Mind's Eye? Mafia 3, of course. You know, screw Mind's Eye. That was a terrible game. Mafia 3 is a masterpiece compared to Mind's Eye. And the thing is, I was actually really looking forward to, I was really looking forward to Mind's Eye. I was really hoping that it would be a good game, but it wasn't. How do you like Lincoln Clay as a character? Lincoln is very direct to the point. No time for BS. When do you think Mafia 3 will take place? 80s or 70s. Or Mafia 4, you mean, yeah. Will I play Black Ops 7 open beta? I don't know. We'll have to see. Can you give me some tips and tricks for making money in Red Dead Online? Yeah, start out with the stranger missions. And when you're doing the stranger missions, just basically have them, have the stranger missions, wait until the last minute. The post you made some people angry. Well, some people were already angry about the first part of Ghost of Yotei. I didn't even know about the actress was, you know, supporting an extremist group, but that was basically it. I ended up changing it to the Japanese dub. Yeah, do daily challenges too. How is this game still fresh and fun to you? We play it every Friday. We play with friends. It's still fun. Hate the artist, but not the art. I guess maybe, but I ended up just to change it to the Japanese dub just to avoid some of the drama with that. I think I do have the Please Stop Me mask in GTA, yeah. Who's my favorite character in Mafia 3 besides Lincoln and Vito? Donovan, then. Collectors have 3 times bonuses, really? I'll have to sell something then. My favorite US president, in 18th century, it would be, George Washington. 19th century, it would be Lincoln. And, yeah, in 20th century, it would be, Teddy Roosevelt. '21st century, I'm not going to speak because I stay away from modern politics. By the way, is there like, is there like a reason on why Donovan helps, Lincoln out so much? Is it just because they go way back to Vietnam, or is there something more to it? But I guess I'll find that out, when I play through the game. I said, rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, under your Yote video, and now I'm getting attacked by people calling him a racist, among other things. What is going on? I don't know why some people are celebrating somebody else's death, and I would ignore those people, Cayman, because look, the thing is, you can dislike somebody, you can even hate someone, but to make fun of somebody's death and to, like, you know, take enjoyment out of that is just, you know, disgusting and dishonorable. And I just can't believe some people acted like that. Just don't listen to it, Cayman. Ignore it. John Donovan is basically like a good friend of him since they serve in Vietnam. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, then I guess if it's a spoiler, don't really tell me. Do you think GTA... thank you, Cayman, for that super chat. Do you think GTA 4 and DLC port will come? It's possible it might come before Christmas. If it doesn't come before Christmas, it's not coming out. Oh, do you get that regardless of the ending, Zach? I know there's multiple endings. I need help with Tom Davies missions. Which one are the Tom Davies missions? I forgot. Oh, do a brutal takedown when you're unarmed. Okay. You know, I think my favorite brutal takedown in Mafia... oh, I'll see you, Raymond. Take care, dude. I think my favorite brutal takedown in Mafia 3 so far is where Lincoln basically kicks them to the ground and then holds them down on the ground with his foot and then just shoots them in the heads. They're down on the ground, he holds them down with his foot and then just shoots them in the head with the M1 Garand. That was probably my favorite. The M1 Garand, probably Execution. That was probably my favorite one. Okay, final mission. And I'm guessing the final mission is when I take over all the districts. That's probably what it's gonna be. Deliver the target. Tom Davies. The Tom Davies missions, which one are they again, Mr. Professional? Remind me.
Looky here. Dog brought me a bone. Cells are downstairs. Payment's here.
Yeah. I'm playing the whole game on free aim gunner. That's one thing I like about shotguns and free aim games is that you don't have to aim directly at the target.
What I give for a horse.
Mafia 3 has a lot of guns. There's a lot of weapons in the game. Who do you think is the best mayor of New York City? I don't really want to get into that because that's more political, so I don't... Do I have any school stories? I have to think a little bit.
Just there.
Which one is Tom Davies in Red Dead again? I forget the characters' names in this game. Let me just Google it here. Tom Davies? Oh, he's the sheriff. I forgot about this guy. Okay, yeah. We can do it then. Let me just disband this here. GTA 4 remaster in the next decade? Yeah, it's highly probable it'll come out. Thank you, Dyson Mauto Carol. Thanks, dude. Can you invite... He's the sheriff with one eye. I forgot about him. Pierston, can you start up your posse? And I'll join it. I'll help you with that mission. I think I'll keep Lincoln's Vietnam outfit for now, Gunner. I do like it. Is it true the Soviets sexually assaulted German women and girls at the end of World War II? Yes, it is 100% true. But the Soviets didn't just do that to German women. The Soviets did that to any women in any, country they entered. They did it in Poland, for example. Poland never attacked them, and they still did that to a lot of Polish girls. So that is true. There was widespread sexual assault among Soviet troops in World War II. Sexual assault did happen amongst other countries in World War II, but it's the most notorious. The two factions that are the most known for rapes in World War II are the Soviets and the Japanese. Both of them, they are the most known for the most amount of sexual assaults in World War II. But that was yes, that is true, Eris. But I will say about it is Zhukov. Zhukov handled it pretty well though at the end of the war, because what happened was when the Soviets took Berlin, there was like fear that the Soviets were gonna start raping women in mass. And what happened was Zhukov, who was the top Soviet commander at that time, he issued an order, and he basically said on a loudspeaker that our war is not with the German people, but with the Nazi government. And he said that anybody who rapes like a woman is going to be shot on sight. And so when Zhukov issued that order, basically it pretty much stopped. So that was it. Zhukov was like one of the few. He was one of the few people that tried to stop it. He did try to stop it. But it did happen amongst a lot of Soviet troops. The Soviets were notorious for it, yes. Let me see here. Also, you know the read previous comments, Pat, and end of Reconstruction. Thank you, Dead Animal Skins, for the super chat. Wait, what, Dead Animal Skins? I'm confused. What are you asking me? Can you post another comment? I can't seem to find your comment. What I was gonna say is, do you know what the most ironic thing, the most ironic World War II propaganda is? The most ironic one? The most ironic World War II propaganda, if I would say a lot, because I've looked at a lot of different World War II propaganda, I would say the most ironic World War II propaganda has got to be the Japanese propaganda. And the reason that the Japanese propaganda is so ironic is that if you look at the Japanese propaganda, how it depicted Americans, The Japanese propaganda depicted American soldiers as like savage, merciless killers, and the Japanese propaganda said that Americans, when they come over to Japan, are gonna like just capture all the Japanese women and just gang rape them and just cut their heads off. That is what the Japanese propaganda said about the Americans. You know what's so ironic about that? The way the Japanese propaganda portrayed the Americans is exactly what Japan did in countries like China and Korea. So that's what's so ironic about that, is that the Japanese propaganda, said that Americans were gonna, rape all the Japanese women and cut people's heads off, and literally that is exactly what Japan was doing in China and Korea. So that is it doesn't let me invite you to a posse. Let me just leave a posse. Then that might be the issue here. But yeah, when the Americans occupied Japan, there was some sexual assaults because there was millions of American troops that occupied Japan. But this was like nowhere near the scale of what happened with like the Soviets, where the Soviets tolerated it and largely didn't do anything about it. Where in the U.S. American occupation forces, if American soldier did something like that, that would be taken care of really quickly. And one of the reasons that it was taken care of really quickly is because we wanted to basically show the Japanese that we weren't their enemy and we were not going to tolerate stuff like that, that we were helping to rebuild Japan. And so that's why MacArthur put in very strict policies against that stuff happened. But the Japanese, for the most part, they were very shocked that the American force wasn't brutal, because the Japanese thought that when the Americans were gonna occupy Japan, that they were gonna loot towns, murder people, stuff like that. That did not happen. So that was what the Japanese were just so shocked that the Americans were much more calm and friendly than they actually thought they were. The demonetization of your recent videos is stupid. Yeah, I think I'm going to make a video about it. Here's the thing is, I'm going to talk to my YouTube agent on Wednesday. So Wednesday I have an appointment. I'm going to, call him and, talk to him. And when I do talk to my YouTube agent, I'm actually going to bring this issue up about the Mafia 3 videos getting demonetized. And hopefully he can get them remonetized for me. But I don't have much hope for that. But I guess we'll see. Thank you, Random Fist, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Hi, Pro. Happy Friday. Take care, Afina. Thank you, Afina. Thank you for being a member of my channel for almost 3 years. Thank you, Afina. Why did Hitler decide to take his life? Because he realized that his empire was pretty much over, and the Soviets were closing in, and he had no way of escaping, and that was pretty much it. Thank you, Eris, for the super chat. Hello, hope you're having a great day. I am, Splans. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you, Exquisite Vibes. Lincoln Clay Punisher 2.0. No way. Yeah, Lincoln is a Punisher. He's getting rid of the Mafia. Have you seen the game Wolfenstein 2 where the Nazis won World War II and then they were able to acquire more advanced tech and occupied all of America? I played the 2014 Wolfenstein game. That game I played. I didn't play the others. I ought to do group project horror stories. I have a few, but not a lot. But I actually did do a group project horror story. Look it up on my channel. But I actually did do it. If you want me, or are you talking about me reacting to comments on group projects? But I did do talk about my group project horror stories. In North Korea, what's the first thing that you have to save in case of a fire? It's the portraits of the leaders. That is true. Hi, Pro, and happy Friday. When will we see the DLC missions in Sniper Elite? I want to get them out before the end of the year. Why are Vietnam veterans forgotten? Well, I guess for one, that the United States lost the war, but the second reason is that the communist propaganda was just so strong during the Vietnam War that it portrayed Americans as it was portraying Americans as just absolute brutes, imperialists, destroying Vietnam's sovereignty, and the Viet Cong as heroic freedom fighters that were fighting for Vietnam's freedom and independence. That's what I'll say is the communist propaganda. It was so strong, and that's why I say is. America didn't just lose the Vietnam War. We also lost the propaganda war. That's what we lost. We lost the propaganda war. I know. Thank you for telling me, Cayman. I'm gonna deal with it right now. Thank you, Isaiah, for sponsoring my channel. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. I passed it. I passed what? Dead animal skins? Let me look here. Reacting to comments, but answer the other question. What other question? Are you going to play Battlefield 6 when it comes out? I'll do a poll. I'll do a poll and I'll ask people if they want me to do a playthrough of Battlefield 6. If they want me to, I'll do it. If not, then I guess we won't do it. What did you think of Winston Churchill? Winston Churchill is a very controversial figure. If I had to say, I would say Winston Churchill is probably the most controversial figure of the 20th century. The reason I would say he's the most controversial figure of the 20th century is because Churchill did things that were really good and honorable, but then he also did really bad things. Like, you know, there are leaders in history that we know are, like, you know, did, you know, horrible and evil things, and that's all they were known for. But Churchill is a more complicated person because of the fact that he did really good things, but he also did really horrible things too. You know, if you want to know the best thing, the best, most honorable thing that Churchill did, the best thing he did was that he did not want to negotiate with the Nazis and he did not want to surrender. That was the best thing that he did. Because when Nazi Germany was basically just steamrolling through Europe in 1940, you know, Churchill was like that one guy there that was, you know, not giving up, you know, not surrendering, you know, saying we will not give up, we will, you know, fight on till the end. And the reason that he wouldn't, you know, surrender or even sign a treaty with the Nazis is because he knew that that was, you know, signing a treaty with the Nazis was basically, you know, a waste of paper. It was, you know, they were going to just screw you over later on when they didn't want to abide by the treaty anymore. So it was Churchill is, you know, a very important figure because he's very important in helping to defeat the Nazis. You know, defeating Hitler is, he was a huge role in that. But the other thing is, now the bad things that Churchill did. The bad things that Churchill did is, one of the things, like, for example, in Poland, in my parents' country of Poland, if you mention Churchill's name, Polish people will absolutely hate that. Like, Polish people despise Churchill. Like, they really hate his guts. The reason that so many Polish people really hate Churchill is because what happened was Churchill made all these promises to Poland on how he was going to protect Poland's sovereignty and protect Poland's independence. And what happened is, right after the war, after World War II, Stalin basically just wanted to conquer Poland, and Churchill really didn't do anything. I know he did plan an operation to invade the Soviet Union. He did plan that, but in the end, a lot of Polish people blame him because they don't think that he did really enough to protect Poland and stop Stalin from basically pillaging Poland. And on top of that, what actually happened was a lot of Polish World War II veterans, like, you know, World War II veterans that were fought in the British armies, like the Polish pilots, for example. The Polish pilots were some of the best pilots in the British army. And you could argue that the British might not have won the Battle of Britain if it was not for the Polish pilots. The Polish pilots shot down hundreds of German bombers and fighters over Britain. Like, they were some of the most elite pilots, and they helped tremendously. And what happened was, after World War II, Churchill did not let those Polish pilots and Polish, you know, veterans that fought in the British Army march in the victory parade. He didn't let them in the victory parade in London. The reason he didn't let them march in the victory parade was because he was afraid it would offend Stalin. Stalin said, I don't want the Polish pilots to march in the parade, and Churchill was like, okay, I won't let them march in the parade. And so a lot of people basically think that Churchill had no backbone, that he didn't stand up to Stalin. So that was basically, you know, why a lot of Polish people had a problem with Churchill specifically. A lot of Polish people also think that Churchill killed, what's his name, General Sikorski. General Sikorski was the prime minister of Poland in exile, and when the Katyn massacre happened, the Katyn massacre was a massacre that happened in April 1940, where Stalin had mass murdered 20,000 Polish prisoners of war, and he had dumped them in a mass grave. And what happened was, in 1943, the Germans actually found that mass grave that the Soviets, you know, the Soviets killed all the Polish people there. And what ended up happening was the Germans tried to use this as propaganda, and Churchill, and it wasn't just Churchill, but Roosevelt. Churchill and Roosevelt tried to downplay the massacre, and they tried to pretend like it didn't happen. Like, they didn't want to discuss it because they were scared about offending Stalin at the time, because Stalin was fighting against the Nazis, and so they didn't want to offend Stalin. And what happened was Sikorski, who was the Polish prime minister, he did not want to let that go. Sikorski was basically saying, I'm going to go to America about this, I'm going to talk to the American press about this, about how the Soviets murdered my people. And what happened is, when he was flying from his plane in Gibraltar, and his plane was carrying the entire Polish staff, the plane crashed on takeoff, and everybody died except the pilot. The pilot was not from Poland. I think he was Czech, and only the pilot survived with minor injuries. And a lot of people in Poland think that the British government had murdered the Polish prime minister. And there's a lot of evidence behind this. It's not just a conspiracy theory with no basis. It hasn't been proven ever, but you know, according to the British reports, it's an accident. But a lot of Polish people, like for example, are convinced that Sikorsky was like murdered by the British, and some believe that Churchill even gave the order. That's what some people believe. So that's basically it. But the worst thing that Churchill probably did, that was him, you know, pissing off Poland. The worst thing that he did was the Bengal famine that happened in India. There was a lot of people that actually starved in India during World War II, and a lot of Indians blame Churchill as saying that he did not do enough or did not, you know, send enough food and help in India, and so a lot of Indians ended up dying for that, and they blame Churchill for that today. But that's basically the backstory. So when I was saying about Churchill is a very controversial figure because he is crap. Rope. Crap. Pierston, you gotta get up there and shoot the rope. I'm playing on free aim. Okay, there, I got it. Oh, come on. Crap. Shot there. Is Preston Garvey really a scumbag, or does the internet hate him for the wrong reasons? About Preston Garvey is Preston Garvey is a good guy at heart. The thing is, if I was to make like a video, you know, top 10 most good characters in the Fallout series, he would definitely be on that list 100%. He's probably, one of the least selfish characters and somebody who does generally want to help. But the reason that people don't like him in the game is because it was just bad writing. That's what it was ultimately. It wasn't that he's a scumbag or he's selfish. It was just bad writing where he doesn't really do much to help you in fights. Like he expects you to go and clear out these settlements and save these settlements, but he doesn't really help you. So it was just more bad writing. That's just what I would say about it. Okay, I guess I'll just give up here on what situation? Dead animal skins? I'm confused. But yeah, I will say I will say though the Polish World War II veterans, their lives actually get much worse also, because not only were they not allowed to participate in like the British World War II victory parade, but on top of that is they were actually denied benefits and they were denied a pension after the war. So like where a lot of British World War II veterans, they got a pension, they got benefits after the war, Polish veterans that fought in the British Army were not entitled to that. The British government argued that the Polish government has the obligation to give that to them, not them, but they served in the British Army, and so they should have been given the same pensions and the same benefits as the British soldiers. They couldn't go back to Poland, because if they went back to Poland, they'd be arrested, because Poland was a communist country at that point. And a lot of those Polish soldiers that fought in the British Army were anti-communist patriots. And so they couldn't go back to Poland. And so imagine that, you serve in the British Army for, years. You help defend British skies from, Nazi bombers terrorizing civilians. And then after the war, they basically deny you benefits and pensions that British soldiers got. So that's one of the reasons I would say that Polish people, like, really hate Churchill, is they blame Churchill, like, for not standing up for Polish people enough. And they think that he basically just let Polish people suffer at the expense of Stalin. That's basically about it. But like I said, Churchill is a very controversial figure because he was instrumental in helping to defeat the Nazis. Like, he was one of the driving forces behind that, and he does deserve credit for that. He was that guy who would not give up and would fight against the Nazis. But the issue with him is that he did other pretty bad things. Thoughts on Calvin Coolidge, also known as Silent Cal? I think he was a decent president. I think he's an underrated president. He didn't really want to get involved in the economy. He didn't mess with people's taxes. You know, I think he was pretty much a decent president for the most part. He's beloved in Britain, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, Churchill is popular in Britain. There's no doubt about that. And there's a reason he's popular in Britain, because he's a strong wartime leader that defended Britain's sovereignty against the Nazis. So that's why he is. But also people need to understand other people's perspective, like the perspective of the Polish, and also the perspective of the Indians, and the issues they had with Churchill. The Southern Union sect are a loose section of the KKK. Their associates consist of Dixie neo-Confederates. The only difference is they're wearing a white sack over their heads. Followers wear robes. Yeah, I know the KKK makes an appearance in the game later on. I'm assuming it's the Remy Duval mission. I'm assuming that, because people keep telling me that Remy Duval is the most racist character in the game. So I guess we'll see when I get up to Remy Duval's missions. Thank you, Landon. Is it true Hitler fought in World War I? Yes, he was a corporal in the German army in World War I. Damn. What, he's still alive? Okay, damn. Well, I think I just shot two with one shot. Ooh, see those shots, guys? Practicing with a sniper is gets you that. Thank you, Lendon, for the super chat.
I wasn't sure about you, Mr. Jones. Then you went and saved my neck.
Well, I ain't gonna make a habit of it.
All of you, thank you. I mean it, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I don't like requiring help, but this time I did. Marshal Davies, all of you, thank you.
Ain't that fine? I was thinking we should leave before Montez's ghost decides to pay us any further visits.
So you are a good fella, Mr. Jones.
Me? No, never. I just like watching what other folks is, that's all.
There's a word for fellas like you.
Wise? Is that the word? Come, Marshal. Help me get home. Been quite enough excitement for a clapped-out old fool well past his best for one day.
Friends, I'll see you again, I hope. But next time under better circumstances, I trust.
Diamond City is very corrupt. The guards do nothing when triggermen attack you, and if you accidentally hit a guard while defending yourself, they declare war on you. Yeah, and you know what else I find really weird about the Diamond City guards? The Diamond City guards and the Raiders are the only two factions in the game that have Boston accents. You would think that a game that takes place in Boston, that more characters would have Boston accents, but it's only the Diamond City Guards and the Raiders are the only people that have the Boston accents. So there's few characters that actually have Boston accents. Isaiah said thoughts on government shutdown. Oh, thank you, Blinded Eagle, for the super chat. I wouldn't get into did I miss a comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Isaiah. I'm sorry I didn't see your super chat earlier. Hey, Patrick, what are your thoughts on the federal government shutdown since October 1st? I'm really sorry I didn't see that comment earlier, Isaiah. I apologize for that. I hope you're still here. What I was going to say about that is I wouldn't worry too much about it. The only time I would say you'd have to worry about it is if you work in the government. If you work in the government, you're not getting paid. So then I could understand why people worry about that. But if you're in the private sector, I really wouldn't worry about it too much. This stuff happens, and it's it's probably like a week or two, and the government's going to get funded again. But this has basically happened before in the past, so I wouldn't worry too much about it personally. Hey, professional, in the future, have you decided on which Metal Gear game you'll play next? Also, since you understand Polish, I would highly recommend The Deluge. It's a Polish film. And what's that specifically about, Ink? Pedification. Thank you for the super chat. I wish you could use the rolling block with iron sights in this game. I really wish you could. I don't know the situation that you're talking about there, yeah, dead animal skins. I don't think I know the situation you're talking about. Is there like an article I can read on this? Do I think I've ever played Metal Gear Solid 4? I do want to go back to it and play it, yeah. Butchie, let me join his posse here. I nearly got punched in the face. That's assault. Is that here's the thing is, if you are under fear of getting attacked by somebody, that's assault. That is what assault is. It's basically putting the fear of attacking someone. So that is it. So that's assault. So whatever that, you know, if you nearly got punched in the face, that's assault. What that guy did. When is the next Yote part? Also, what's your thoughts on Atsu so far? So many people saying the game is woke. I didn't really have that much time to analyze her. I only played, you know, through the first part. I haven't even recorded my second part yet. I'm recording it with, you know, Japanese dub. I don't think that there's any... I haven't seen anything woke so far about the game. I know that developers... I know the developers made that stupid comment. I know about that, you know, supporting the, you know, the assassination that, you know, there was developers that supported that. It's stupid. The developer... I think the developer did get fired for that. But, as for the game, I know that the English actress who plays as her, I know she supported like an extremist group. I don't want to really get into the politics, but I'm gonna be doing Japanese dub now because of that. So, and also I don't think that there's really anything I don't think there's anything woke about having a female character as the main protagonist. I don't think so. You know, the only time I would say, honestly speaking, the only time I would say it's woke to have a female protagonist in a game is a game like, you know, Battlefield 5, for example. Battlefield 5 is the reason I would say that is because Battlefield 5 had like historically inaccurate stuff where you had like women in the American army and, you know, women in the British army and stuff like that, and women in the Japanese army and the German army. It made no sense. If they wanted to add women soldiers, they could have done so in like the Soviet army. They could have added like resistance members, like French female resistance and stuff like that. But doing like you know, women in the British and American army, that's the only time I thought really having a woman character was woke, is when it was like in a historical game. But like, you know, having a game like, you know, Ghost of Yote, no, I don't think there's anything woke about that. So I don't have an issue with that personally, having a female protagonist. I'll have to see what Atsu is like more as I play through the game, but The Deluge is a film about the deluge. Oh, how could I forget this? Yes, the Swedish invasion of Poland. About that is, here's the thing. When the Swedish invaded Poland, they raped and pillaged Poland. During the deluge, hundreds of thousands of Polish civilians died. Like, it was like one of the greatest, you know, biggest slaughters of, like, you know, people that happened because back then when there was like invasions going on, for the most part there wasn't this giant slaughter of people back then, like, you know, hundreds of years ago. The reason for that is because the armies did not have like the technology to, like, you know, just kill so many people so rapidly. But like during the deluge, when the Swedish invaded Poland, like, they were razing like Polish towns and Polish cities to the ground, and they were, you know, killing, you know, thousands of Polish civilians. It was like really bad. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I forgot the event's name, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It is a yeah. But that's the thing is, and Sweden did that. Sweden did do that. That's what a lot of people, they don't know about that. Like, when you think about countries that, like, you know, pillaged Poland, like countries that, you know, that destroyed Poland, you think of like immediately Germany and Russia. but you never think about a country like Sweden. And so I think that because of Germany and Russia's war crimes in Poland, I think that a lot of people have forgotten about Sweden's war crimes. But Sweden was very brutal in their occupation of Poland. When they occupied Poland, they were very brutal. They did some really, really horrible things. The other time that I know when there was like pillages going on, the Mongolian invasions. During the Mongolian invasions, like a lot of civilians died during that. But for the most part, you know, hundreds of years ago, when there was like you know medieval warfare, even like musket warfare, there wasn't this great slaughter of civilians, like this giant scale of it. It really didn't happen for the most part. But there are instances where it did happen, like the Deluge, for example. You had the Mongolian conquests. You had the most amount of civilians actually dying in modern times. In modern times, you had the most amount of civilians dying, and it's because countries developed these like really horrible weapons, like bombs in planes, for example, that could kill thousands of civilians if a few bombs dropped. You had machine guns, artillery, chemical weapons, and so there was a lot of these really horrible weapons that were invented later on. That when will we make a video addressing the GT Online Casino Mantrap bug? Tomorrow. I actually already recorded it. I just have to edit it. I'd like to note that for Mafia 3 DLCs, they are required to complete the storylines to take place in between them. Do them once you get the lieutenants. Wait, so can I not do the DLCs after? Because I would really like to do the DLCs after I beat the game. Like I would have to I'd like to have the main story in one and then focus the DLCs in another. Like can I not play the DLCs after I beat the game? London, thank you for the super chat. And thank you, Ink Penification. Yeah, and I'm stupid. I'm stupid for forgetting what it was called, the Deluge. But I know what you're talking about, the Deluge. Yeah, it was when Sweden invaded Poland. It was really bad. That was it very, very brutal when the Swedes did that. There actually is there's actually a holy place in Poland today. It's called Częstochowa. It's a place in Poland that's considered holy. The reason that it's considered holy is because the Swedes had pretty much conquered all of Poland, but they could not conquer this one town. And in the town was built like a fortress, and in that town there was like a single picture of Saint Mary, and nobody knows where that picture came from. And so like a lot of Polish people, for example, they think that painting is holy, and that's basically what protected the town from Sweden's pillages. But that was basically the backstory on Częstochowa. You can do all the DLCs after the main story. Okay, cool. Wait, let me see here. TB Bunny. Strong is probably the most useless companion in Fallout 4. More of a liability. He hates almost everything you do. Not necessarily. Strong is, if you are a raider character, Strong does approve of the stuff that you do as a raider, but the things that Strong hates is Strong hates sneaking, he hates stealth kills, he hates lockpicking, and that's the thing is that, even if you're not stealing from somebody, if you just, like, happen to find, like, a raider cache and you try to lockpick it, he hates that too. So he is difficult to deal with. But the easiest way to get Strong to like you in Fallout 4 is to engage in cannibalism. If you have the cannibal perk, he is the only character that likes that, and you'll be able to get like points of him really quickly if you do that. Thank you, TB Bunny, for the super chat. Sorry for swearing. I didn't even know you were swearing. No, I never really played the Final Fantasy games, no. Maybe, Mason, but I'm gonna be working on that Mafia 3 short. Wait, why, Lendon? What's wrong with doing it after the story? Will I credit Gilly Master for also addressing that Mantrap bug in the video? I already have. When I already recorded the video, I just have to edit and put it together, but I already did credit him for that. The reason I'm doing a video on the Mantrap bug also is because I had it happen to me last Sunday on the stream, and it really pissed me off. The reason it really pissed me off is because me and Brandon, when we were doing the heist, we got all the gold, 2 of us together, everything. And it was BS that it's really hurts my immersion vibes, chronological reasons. Well, you have to also remember that Joe's Adventures takes place, you know, in between the story of Mafia 2, but I did it after, you know, Lendon. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, are you okay with it? It happened in the last 3 streams, didn't you? Yeah, most streams it happens in. Have you ever watched Peaky Blinders? No. I know it's like a British TV show about like gangsters in Britain. How brutal were the Vikings? Oh, very, very brutal. And here's the thing is, guys. If I had to describe the most misunderstood warriors in European history, the most misunderstood warriors in European history are the Vikings. Like, out of all of them. Like, people understand them the least out of all of the warrior types that happen, you know, in Europe. But about the Vikings, why are they so misunderstood? The reason that the Vikings are so misunderstood is because, do you know what the Vikings were? The Vikings were savage looters. That is what they were. They were savage looters. They were extremely violent people that would basically just loot everything and steal everything. That's what the Vikings were. The Vikings didn't really have their own country. Some of the Vikings had their own kingdoms, sure, but they really didn't have like a giant unified country. The Vikings were a nomadic people. They would constantly move from place to place. The Vikings, a lot of times, maybe they had like a village or a small town that they would come back to, but the Vikings weren't really conquerors. The Vikings were more of what the Vikings would do is they would go into an area, like into a town, and so, like, let's say, for example, what the Vikings will do is the Vikings maybe will sail across the ocean, and maybe they'll sail across the English Channel, right? And they'll sail into, like, a coastal town in France. And they'll come into this small coastal town in France, and they'll demand that the French, you know, townspeople basically give them all of their gold and their, you know, food and every alcohol and everything else. And if they don't, they're gonna slaughter them. And then what they would do is, then a month later, they would basically just come back and demand it, and then leave by boat. So they wouldn't really conquer them; they would just constantly come back and, you know, rob them, and then come back and forth. Basically, like the Mafia. How the Mafia, you know, goes up to a store and basically demands protection, you know, every month. You know, it's really the same concept when you think about it. Sometimes the Vikings, though, what they did was they didn't just rob a town; they pillaged a town. Like, they would just come in, and here's the thing: when the Vikings would pillage a town, the Vikings left no survivors. So when they pillage the town, everybody is dying. Everybody is. The women, the children, everybody's dying. Do you know who the only people that would survive a pillaging is? You know the only people? Only 2 people would survive a pillaging. Slaves, people that are gonna be taken as slaves by the Vikings, and women. And sometimes they would just murder all the women, but other times they would take the women, and when they took the women, they would do unspeakable things to them. You know, I think people know what I'm getting at. But that's basically what they would do. So they would just basically take women as, you know, sex slaves. They'll take them back to their, you know, villages, their castles, you know, wherever else. And a lot of times these women didn't even speak their language. So there was no communication. And then these, you know, Vikings would just constantly just rape them. If anybody has ever seen the anime Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is a very, you know, it's an anime that takes place during the Viking era. And about Vinland Saga, a lot of the characters in Vinland Saga are actually real people. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of them are real people. Even Orphine, I haven't watched it in a couple of years. Even the main character, he's a real person. He was. But that show is even though it's an anime, it's a pretty realistic depiction of what the Vikings were like. They would just come into villages, they would basically just rape and pillage and just burn everything. And so Thorfinn, yes, not Orphine, I was just Thorfinn, that was his name. He was a real person, he was. But yes, Thorfinn is historically a very popular figure in Iceland today. He's considered the national hero in Iceland. The reason that he's considered a national hero is Thorfinn is the guy who's credited with bringing Christianity to Iceland. So he was the guy, the missionary who ended up bringing Christianity to Iceland, and that's, I guess, what they're kind of going for with his story in Vinland Saga. But yeah, that's basically it. Is that the Vikings were just really, really violent people. And the thing is, when I read these comments of people saying, "Oh, the Vikings were cool, they were honorable fighters." No, you know, there's nothing honorable as slaughtering women and children. There's nothing honorable about that. So that's what I would say the Vikings are probably the most misunderstood, you know, warriors in history. Like, if you met the Vikings in real life, they'd cut your head off. So these were not, you know, friendly people. Like, the Vikings were only friendly with each other. That's who they were, you know, friendly with. But the Viking, and also I will say, do you know who the scariest type of Viking that you can encounter? You know, the scariest type? The scariest type of Viking that you can encounter is an old Viking. You know why old Vikings are so scary? The reason that old Vikings are so scary is because they're trying to die. They're trying to die in combat because they believe in their religion that if you die in combat, you go to Valhalla. If you don't die in combat, you don't go to Valhalla. And so that was pretty much why old Vikings were so scary, because they were intentionally trying to die in battle, and they were not scared of death. They weren't. They were actually trying to die. And so you didn't know what you're going up against, like a really, old Viking. It's, you know, they're pretty scary. But I will say about the Viking heaven is, the Viking heaven is kind of weird. It's like their version of heaven is basically this giant like lodge that's in the middle of winter. It's like it's always snowing cold, and it's like a lodge where it's warm inside, and you have an infinite amount of food. So you can keep eating your favorite foods over and over again. It will never run out. You can drink as much as you want, and if you want, you can go outside and basically just fight your friends in combat. And if you die, you basically just respawn in the lodge again and can just drink and eat with your friends for eternity. That's basically what the Viking heaven is like. It's just basically you getting to drink and eat and fight with your friends for the rest of eternity. I know that what is it in Skyrim. In Skyrim, Sovngarde is based on the Viking heaven. That's what Sovngarde is in Skyrim. It is basically that. It's like this one giant lodge that they're all in, all the warriors are in together. That is basically what the Viking heaven was like. It takes all of its inspiration from that, pretty much. I missed a bunch of comments. Let me see here. You heard about this brand called Drink Palestina. It's a soda brand, but don't let that fool you. It's really good, but the difference is they don't put all that crap in there. Lemon, lime is shit, but there's 4 flavors. It's a healthy brand of soda. Really? I've never heard of something like that. I probably still won't drink it because I haven't drank soda in like, you know, a decade. But that is interesting. Then if they have like a cleaner good version of soda. Since Season 2 is coming out and going to be set in New Vegas, do you have any plans for a New Vegas playthrough anytime soon? I don't know. Before I do a Vegas playthrough, I really wanted to come back to Fallout 3, because I haven't even finished Fallout 3, I haven't. Fallout 3, I still have to do the DLCs. I have never finished the DLC story, so I gotta do the pit, and I gotta do the, Operation Anchorage, I gotta do all those DLCs, I haven't even gotten to that. So I do gotta, do that, and get around to that still. I guess we'll see, Silver Fox. Where's the wagon, by the way? Where is it? That's not going to be excusable for Mafia 3. Joe's Adventure is excusable, since there is less than 10 cutscenes. But with Mafia 3, there are several good cutscenes. You must do this one chronologically. When am I supposed to do it? That's what's confusing me. Talk about a female Viking. I really don't know about female Vikings. I don't know that much. The majority of the Vikings were men. Definitely, like more than 90% of them. There probably were some female Vikings, but I don't really know about them that much. I don't. So I really don't. I really don't know that much about that. Is it bugged? It might be. Yeah, there was an American soldier that had actually fled to North Korea. The guy was an idiot. I did a crazy current events video about it, and he ended up getting, sent back. In Black Ops 2, there are 3 characters who are real-life people. Jonas Savimbi, Manuel Noriega, David Petraeus. Yes, that is true. When I take over all lieutenant districts. Which DLC should I do first? I abandoned the job. I don't. Oh. Faster Baby is the first one. Okay. There's another U.S. soldier that defected to North Korea and became famous there. You are thinking of what's his name? I know the guy. He defected in the 1960s. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I remember I read about a bunch about him. Damn, I can't even remember his name right now. He wrote books about Kim Il Sung. Dresnok, yes, that was it. Dresnok, that was the guy. He was an no, the guy who died in Japan. The guy who died in Japan, he was actually a he was an American that defected to North Korea, but he ended up, leaving North Korea, and he, moved to Japan and married a Japanese woman. But the other guy, Dresnok stayed in North Korea, and Dresnok wrote like books about crap. Yeah, Dresnok wrote books about like Kim Il Sung. Like he translated his books into English. Kim Jong Il, but here's the thing about James Dresnok. About James Dresnok, he's kind of misunderstood in a way too, because, and hear me out on this, guys. He is a traitor. He did betray America, but to an extent, I do feel bad for him. I'm not excusing what he did, obviously, but the reason that I feel bad for him is because if you read into his past, you would kind of understand why he did what he did. The reason that he ended up defecting to North Korea is because when he was a child, he was heavily abused. Like, his parents were not around. They treated him like crap. Like, he constantly got routinely beaten. He joined the military to try to make a career. I don't think he even finished high school. And what happened was, when he was in the military, his wife, his fiance, ended up cheating on him. And when his fiance ended up cheating on him, that absolutely broke him, and he just broke down. And then he got into a fight with his sergeant. I don't remember how the fight started. I think he punched the sergeant in the face. And I think at that point he was like facing like a court-martial. And basically at that point he was like a guard on like the South Korean border. And he basically just said, screw this, I'm going to North Korea. And then he just defected to North Korea and he stayed there. And the thing about it is he got everything that he wanted in North Korea, because in North Korea they essentially made him a celebrity. They made him a popular figure in North Korea. Like, he was an actor in North Korea. Like, he started North Korean movies. And whenever if you ever watch any of those North Korean propaganda movies, like the old movies that they made in like the 70s and 80s, whenever there's like an evil, white American soldier in those movies, that's always Dresnok. It's almost always him. He plays this evil American in so many North Korean movies. So it was like that American guy who defected to North Korea. So he ended up living in luxury in North Korea, so he kind of got a better life, but it doesn't excuse what he did. He betrayed his country. He betrayed America. And so while he was growing up, his parents abused him. His fiance cheated on him, but his country never, really wronged him. And so that was wrong that he, had, betrayed his country and did, like, North Korean propaganda and, like, spoke so badly about the country that he came from. So that's basically what I'll say about Dresnok, is that, he is a scumbag, he is a traitor, he did betray America, but a lot of people don't really know about his childhood. If you read into his early life, he does have a very sad, early life. He never got, any opportunity in life, and he was always treated like crap, and that basically made him snap one day, and, that's basically ultimately the backstory on him. It's kind of sad, but, you know what I found, like, really, crazy? He has two sons in North Korea. He ended up marrying like a Romanian communist woman that lives in North Korea, and his two sons that live in North Korea, they're both white guys that grew up with a North Korean accent, and they're both in the military, and one of them is a captain in the North Korean military. So if you ever see like that one white guy in the North Korean military, and he's still an officer in the North Korean military, that's actually his son. So he didn't even grow up in America. He doesn't know anything about America. He speaks Korean. It's like so that's it. Some people have seen like this one white guy in the North Korean military, and they're like, who the hell is that guy? That's basically James Dresnok's son, that guy. She was kidnapped? She was? Well, I didn't even know that, if she was kidnapped. But I know he married a Romanian woman in North Korea, but... Butchie, what's going on right now? The other defector said he was a bully. Oh, really? Huh. Well, I'm not surprised by that. He probably let the power go to his head. Also, about James Dresnock, do you know what James Dresnock wanted to be? He wanted to be North Korea's ambassador to the United Nations. That's who James Dresnock wanted to be. But North Korea didn't let him do that. And the reason they didn't let him do that is because North Korea probably would be a laughingstock if they had like an American trader as their representative at the United Nations. So that's probably why they didn't make him their UN representative. They just used him for propaganda. They used him as an actor primarily to spread, you know, anti-American propaganda. Do you think Lincoln should have said yes to Sal's request to run the Hollow? No. Lincoln was right to turn that down. He was completely right. The reason that because Sammy raised him, Sammy never treated Lincoln badly, and that would not have been you know, fair. And honestly, it would have been more fair to ask Ellis to run the Hollow. If Sal did that to Ellis, it would have made more sense. But Ellis was, I guess it was because. The reason is, I guess it was because Sal saw Lincoln as more tougher and better to run things, and I guess he kind of proved that by creating his own family. But Ellis was the biological son of Sammy, and I think Lincoln was adopted later on. So probably if Sammy was gonna leave his empire to anybody, he was probably gonna leave it to Ellis. But that's probably what it was. Yeah. So Lincoln was not going to betray Sammy. He wasn't going to do something like that. You know, you don't stab people in the back who've been loyal to you and, you know, good to you like that. I think Lincoln didn't want anything to do with crime. No, I don't agree. I don't agree. Lincoln probably joined the Lincoln probably signed up to the military because he probably wanted to make something of himself. But it's not that he necessarily didn't want anything to do with crime, because you have to remember, he just got back from the military, and the first thing he does is jump back into crime. Like, you know, Sammy and, you know, Ellis tell him there's a problem with the Haitian gang, and Lincoln is like, okay, let me go deal with it. And so he just immediately jumps into crime. So I don't think that he tried to avoid crime. Do you think Sammy's a good person? No. Anybody who is a gangster is not a good person. Anybody who's a gangster can never be a good person, ever. However, though, Sammy isn't evil. That's the thing is. What would I describe Sammy as? Bad, but not evil. And there's a difference. A lot of people think that bad and evil is the same thing. It's not. Bad and evil is not the same thing. And so Sammy, bad. Marcano, evil. There's a difference between that. So Marcano is evil. Sammy's just bad. Pro, I don't think I'll be able to join. I got a really bad headache, but I'll be able to join on Sunday. I hope that you're okay, Brandon. Everybody wish my moderator Brandon here, to get better. I hope that you're better, Brandon. It's okay. You don't have to join me. You don't even have to moderate. Brandon, don't worry about moderating the chat. Just go lie down, take a rest. Take something for the pain, but just don't take an Advil or something. But you don't have to moderate the chat. Just go and rest. It's fine. I won't be pissed at you. No, I didn't know that, Gunner. Yeah, feel better, Brandon. You don't have to moderate. It's okay, dude. Oh, and also, this is another thing that people don't understand. Somebody can be a bad person but still be honorable. They can. So just because somebody's like a criminal doesn't necessarily mean that they're not honorable. So that's it. And like, honorable doesn't necessarily mean that you don't commit crimes. Honorable means things like you don't stab people in the back, you don't get greedy, you give everybody their fair cut. You honor your deals. If you make a promise, you keep it. That's basically what honor is. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're like a moral person. It more means that, you follow like a specific code and you stick by that code. That's what more of it means. What's your first impressions of Ghost of Yotei? I'm enjoying it. I like it. It's challenging. What I'm really excited for in Ghost of Yotei is I really want to use the gun, the matchlock guns. Like I really like the firearms in that time period. I really do like the old style firearms, and so I really want to see the guns. Do the NPCs in Ghost of Yotei, do they reload their guns really quick? Like, how fast do they reload? Just don't tell me it's like 5 seconds. Because if it's like 5 seconds, I'm going to get pissed. Because those guns did not take 5 seconds to load. But that would, yeah, I think that's the problem with, like, games when they add some of those old-style firearms. They a lot of times just make the NPCs load so quickly, which is ridiculous. It's about 10 seconds. Here's the thing is, I don't know about matchlocks that much. When it comes to, oh yeah, Rise the Ronin was ridiculous. Rise the Ronin, you would reload so quickly. It was ridiculous. But when it comes about matchlock guns, I don't know about matchlock guns that much. I don't. They were the predecessor to flintlocks. Flintlocks I know much more. Flintlocks I could talk about them all day. I know flintlock mechanisms and I could talk about those. But I really don't know about matchlocks as much. But I will say about the flintlocks, like a really good soldier in like the Napoleonic times, like when there was the Napoleonic Wars going on, and even the Revolutionary War, like a really good soldier in that time period, they could reload in 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds, a soldier could reload. If you could reload every 15 seconds back then, you were a really good soldier. You were. But the best soldiers in the world, the best soldiers in the world were from Prussia, and Prussia was like the largest German state. The average Prussian soldier could reload in 10 seconds. 10 seconds, that's insane. When a really good soldier could reload every 15 seconds, the Prussians could reload every 10 seconds. And the reason the Prussians could reload every 10 seconds is because the Prussian military society was so strict, they would basically teach their soldiers, you gotta do it in 10 seconds, you gotta do it in 10 seconds. Like, they would really push their soldiers to do that. So that's why the Prussians were able to fire just so quickly. But that's basically the backstory about that. But yeah, I will say, like, I don't even know, like, if could somebody even reload a matchlock in 10 seconds? Is that even possible? Like, I don't know about matchlocks that much. Does anybody know about them? I know about flintlocks more, but do you think it's possible for somebody to reload a matchlock in 10 seconds? I don't think so, really. I don't think so that much. See here. Let me start up my posse. I'm gonna start my posse up here. Oh wait, I do have my posse ready. You can just join it. It's open. What do you think about the Saudis buying EA? I really don't care, honestly, that much, because I don't really play that many EA games. Maybe the only EA games I play are Battlefield, but I really don't play that many EA games, so I don't know if I really care that much, honestly. Which target in Assassin's Creed 2 do you despise the most? Think about that. Maybe Rodrigo Borgia. Another thing I'll say, what was it? They better not have bayonets in Ghost of Yotei. They better not have bayonets. And the reason I'm saying they better not have bayonets is because the bayonet still was the bayonets were not invented in that time period. Still, they weren't. You would think that they had bayonets in that time period. They didn't. The bayonets were invented at the end of the 17th century in Scotland. So the Scots were the ones who invented the bayonets first. Matchlock uses a rope with one end lit, and the trigger lowers the cord to ignite the gunpowder. Oh, okay. So basically, this drops the it drops the because I know it has that little rope at the end that's on fire. So that's what it does. And a flintlock basically just the flint strikes the pan, which it ignites the gunpowder in the in the pan, and there's like a little hole in the pan, which that spark goes into the rest of the barrel, and in the barrel it ignites the gunpowder explodes, pushing the projectile out of the gun. What's a matchlock? It's the name of the guns that were before the flintlocks, the guns that are in Ghost of Yotei. How do you feel about Manhunt 3 being set in Mexico with the Mexican cartels? Well, I think I don't think Mexico would be a bad setting, but I think that the best setting for Manhunt 3, I think, would probably be Alaska. And the reason I say Manhunt 3 would be perfect in Alaska is because Alaska is not really that location that's been done in a lot of games. I know Alaska appeared in a few video games, but it hasn't. But when I really think about it, has Alaska appeared in any horror games ever? I don't think Alaska has ever been in a horror game. I know there's like horror games that are like in the Arctic, but that doesn't really count. I'm talking specifically like Alaska. Like the mountains of Alaska, the woods of Alaska. And when you really think about it, think about the woods of Alaska, the mountains of Alaska at night, like the large forests. Like, I think that would be a perfect setting for like a horror game like Manhunt. And I think that you could have like some log cabins and maybe have like some small Alaska towns that are like in missions too. But I think that about Alaska, if they would do 4 gangs in that game, like, and the 4 gangs is like, we would have a Native American gang, and the Native American gang, they would wear like the fur, coats and the fur, hoods, kind of like the Eskimos wear. So you have like a Native American gang that kind of like wears like hunting equipment. You would have like a survivalist militia prepper gang, kind of like the other militia gangs that were in the other Manhunt games, but more like Alaska themed, of like, a lot of their tactical gear and their cold winter gear. And then you would have the other faction I would have would be like a psycho killer gang, where maybe they wear hoods and they wear like hockey masks, like winter, coats of hockey masks. And then the last faction, the most dangerous faction, I would put some Russian mercenary group. Like, that would probably be believable in like a setting like Alaska, some like Russian mercenary group that infiltrated Alaska, and like they would be the most high-tech guys. They would be the guys that would have like night vision goggles and stuff like that. And that would be like, Manhunt 3's version of Cerberus, basically. That's what I would say about them. Yeah. Yeah, I thought about it more. I asked the question a long time ago. You remember, I made the poll like a year ago. Unknown subject. Yeah, you remember. Even Gilly Master talks about what? Also, Pro, I don't think there's any evidence she's actually part of that group back in 2020. I think she just tweeted that thing just saying that she was... Well, even if she's not a direct member of the group, saying that she is a member of the group, I think is... wrong, because it's a group that supports communism, which is, an authoritarian system, and it's like, her making a tweet like that, I would say, is extremely offensive to, like, all the victims of communism. Well, my parents grew up under communism. My great-grandpa was arrested by Stalin, so that's, yeah, it's not good, what she said. The hockey mask gang will be called the Loonies. Oh, okay. Would I visit North Korea? No. I bet if Rockstar ever made Manhunt 3 in Alaska showing a native faction, they would probably get sued for being racist towards Native Americans. No, I don't think there's anything, I don't think there's anything, racist about having like a Native American gang in a game that takes place in Alaska, because if anything, it's showing one group of people that's there. So, like, having, like, a Native American gang in, like, a game that's set in, like, Alaska. You would have, like, a gang that's, like, maybe from, like, the Inuit tribe, and they're wearing, like, some of, like, the Arctic gear that they wear, like, those fur coats, that the Eskimo wear and stuff like that. I think, and also, the main character in Manhunt 3 could be a Native American. So, you could have, like, an Inuit character. I wouldn't have a problem with that. That'll be fine with me. So that's what I'll say about it. I don't know, why some people would say that that's racist. That's... No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And honestly, I think it would be perfect. I think it would be perfect if the main character in Manhunt 3 was like an Alaskan Inuit. Because when people think of Native Americans, they never really think of Alaska. They don't. But Alaska has a lot of Native Americans that live there. So a lot of people don't know about that. But the tribes that live in Alaska are very different than the tribes that live in like mainland America. So that's their culture and religion is very different than like the tribes that live in mainland America. But yeah, that's what a lot and yeah, a lot of people don't know about that. Say that. There he is. A meth head biker gang in Manhunt 3. That actually works, Adrian. I could add that to my list of gangs. If I ever make a video about that, I could also add that to my list of gangs. Like, yeah, an Alaskan biker gang. Yeah, you could have something like that. And maybe you could have like the biker gang be like a neo-Nazi gang, like how they had in the other Manhunt games. Because in every Manhunt game you have like a really racist gang, and so you could have like a really racist like biker gang in Manhunt 3. Yeah, they could do that. Because in Manhunt 1 you had a neo-Nazi gang, I remember that, and then in Manhunt 2 it was like a neo-Confederate KKK gang basically. They wore like KKK hoods and they had like you know, the Confederate flag constantly. So yeah, you could have like a dangerous, like, you know, racist biker gang is like one of the factions too. You could do that. Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's what people don't know about the Angels of Death is that only the people that really like read into the lore of GTA know that. But the Angels of Death are actually a white supremacist gang in GTA. A lot of people don't know that they are. And if you read the Angels of Death, like their website in GTA 4, like in the story in GTA 4, they never really mentioned that the Angels of Death are white supremacists, but they are. Because if you actually go into their website and you read like their views and their policies, it's all like white supremacist propaganda, like all of it on there. Yeah, the skins were the skins were the neo-Nazis in Manhunt 1. But what was the name of the neo-Confederate gang in Manhunt 2? Like the racist gang in Manhunt 2, the Confederate gang. I forget about what they were called, but I remember them. Yeah, a lot of them they wore KKK hoods. I remember that. But those the thing is, like the Manhunt games are like I can never picture Rockstar making like another game like that. I can't because the Bloodhounds, that's what they were called. The thing I like about the Manhunt games is that in the Manhunt games, like the gangs in Manhunt like make the GTA gangs look like angels. Like they really do. Like they make the GTA gangs look like nice people. So like the gangs in the Manhunt games are like some of the most evil, despicable, you know, gangsters that I've seen in the GTA world. And honestly, if I made like a list, top 10 most evil, you know, gangs in the GTA world, the top gangs of that list wouldn't even be the GTA gangs. It would actually be the Manhunt gangs, because Manhunt does take place in the same universe as GTA. So it would be I remember in Manhunt 1 there was a rapist gang. Like there was a gang of just rapists. And then in Manhunt 2 there was like a gang of like perverts. Like, you know, perverts and child molesters, and there was like you know, a neo-Confederate, you know, KKK gang, and then in the first game, there's like a neo-Nazi gang. So, like, you would not see gangs like this ever in a GTA game. Like, you're never gonna see gangs like this. You're never gonna see, like, brutal gangs like this in another GTA game. Like, that is, those gangs in, like, the Manhunt games were, like, really creepy. Like, really, really creepy. Really creepy and evil. I appreciate that you make Mafia 3 videos 2 times as long. Thank you, TJ. Thanks for the super chat. What Manhunt gang scared you the most? Probably the, I even forget the name of the gang. Probably the gang in the first game, the rapist gang. When you're stuck in that shopping mall at night with the racist gang, the ones who killed Cash's family. They killed Cash's family. I forget the not the guys with the yellow hockey mask, not the Smileys, the rapist gang. I forget them. I thought they were even the scariest gang in Manhunt 1. Innocence, yes, Innocence. That was the name of the gang. Yeah, those guys are probably the scariest gang. What about an ultra-nationalist survivalist militia like the War Dogs? Alaska would be a perfect setting for that, and they would be decked out in snow camos. I think that the biker gang would be better for that, because the biker gang would be like the biker gang would be the racist gang in Manhunt, because in Manhunt 3, because you have like, you know, a racist gang in every Manhunt game. I think the survivalist militia, I don't think they're gonna be like a hostile gang, but I don't think necessarily you should make them racist. You should just make them like maybe like anti-government, like extremists, like, you know, crazy, you know, preppers, you know, stuff like that. You know, kind of like you had like the militia gangs in the other Manhunt games. Innocence consists of two sub-gangs, Skulls and Babyfaces. What's the difference between the two of them? Pro, is Walter White from the television series Breaking Bad a sociopath? Yeah, I would say he is. The reason I would say that Walter White is a sociopath is I haven't watched the TV show fully, so I don't know everything, but I do generally know how it starts and how it ends. The reason that I'll say Walter White is a sociopath is because the thing about this is Breaking Bad also shows Breaking Bad shows you how people can change and not for the good. Because Walter White at the start of Breaking Bad was like a harmless, harmless guy in his mid-50s. He didn't like violence. He didn't, want to engage in that type of stuff. He did obviously cook meth, but he wasn't like, this hardcore, ruthless criminal. But then, like, by like the end of Breaking Bad, he's this, ruthless, psychotic, unstable person. Like, when he let Jesse's girlfriend die, stuff like that. Some of the other horrible things he did. I'm trying to think of all the really bad things he did, but he did some pretty messed up things. Oh yeah, the covering up a murder of a child. He helped cover up a child. Oh yeah, he poisoned the child, right? I forgot why he did that though. I know that wasn't that like Jesse's girlfriend's brother that he did that too, but I don't remember why he poisoned the child. That I don't know why he did that, but I do remember he did that. Brock was his name. I think it was Brock, right? But yeah, he was he did some pretty bad things in that. I think about what to manipulate Jesse into siding with him. No. Also for people that are confused why Walter became so evil, I think I can kind of explain it why. There kind of is an answer. The reason that Walter became like evil is it's the same thing of like when people steal. It's basically the exact same concept. Now, some people that steal, they don't steal for money. They don't. Some people steal just for stealing. They do that. I know a lot of people probably think that's bullshit, but it is true. And as working in retail, I will tell you, there are people who steal just for the fun of it. There are people who do that type of stuff. And the people who steal for fun, most of the time, these are people who have a lot of money. Like, even richer people. Like, when people think of rich people, they think, oh, they're never going to shoplift. They're never going to steal something from a store. Yeah, they do. They do pretty much. The reason for that is because a lot of these, richer people, higher income people that steal, they basically get, like, a rush of stealing. Like, when they steal something and they get away with it, they're basically like, haha, I got away with that. Like, I did that, and, like, nobody figured out that it was me. It's basically like a narcissistic thing. Like, they think that they're so smart. They're like, oh, I got away with this. And, like, nobody caught me. That's basically the same thing with Walter when you think about it. Is that, Walter became so powerful, he made so much money, and he basically, like, thought, oh, well, I'm the big guy here, I got away with all this stuff. It's like, nobody can stop me, I'm smarter than everybody, I'm better than everybody. And that's the core trait of Walter White, is that Walter White, his ego is basically his downfall. He thinks he's smarter than everyone. He thinks he's better than everybody. He cannot handle his ego, being broken. And that's ultimately why he became so evil. It was, maybe it was like buried deep inside him. Maybe he always had that as part of him, but it was ultimately about that. It was like haha, like I'm so powerful. I'm the new Gus Fring. That's basically what he thought. But he could never be Gus Fring. He could never get to Gus's level. Like Gus was way more intelligent than him. The thing that Gus had that what Gus's downfall was, his downfall was that Gus could not let his vengeance go. He could not let his revenge go, and Walter White knew that, and he basically used that against Gus to get him blown up. But that is Walter is never going to be the next Gus. Gus was always more intelligent than him. Gus was better than him. So it means that they're bored in a way, yeah. I'm sorry, guys, my allergies. This time of the year when the temperature starts dropping and like this, this always happens to me. But what I was gonna say about like Walter White, I agreed with everything that Mike said to him, because like Mike said to him, you know, we had a good thing going with Fring, and he's like, you could have just shut up and cooked, and we would have all been fine, and we would have all made up plenty of money. And when you really think about that, Mike is 100% right. If Walt would have just shut up and not let his ego get to him and just cooked, everybody would have been rich. You know, he would have been rich, Jesse would have been rich, Gus would have been rich, Mike would have been rich, and they would have all gotten away with it. But it was that Walt just could not let his ego go, and that was pretty much it. Am I feeling okay? I am. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm not like dangerously sick or anything like that, but it's always like around October time. What happens is the temperature goes up. One night the temperature goes up, and then the next day the temperature like drops down dramatically. What happens is when the temperature just rapidly changes like that, it goes from from hot to cold, cold to hot, stuff like that. I just start sneezing, and I just have like nasal problems. I don't know why. So it's always just happened to me around this time. What's your thoughts on the Xbox Game Pass price increase? It's stupid. Do you know what you're allergic to? I know I'm allergic to certain pollens, like certain, like, especially like when the, the plants, when they release the pollen certain times of the year, I do get allergic to that. Where I live, the temperature dropped dramatically. Where do you live? Are you a libertarian by any chance, and Capas Maximus? Because that is the libertarian flag, is it not? The yellow and black? I think it is. Oh, okay, London. Get some electrolytes in him. I actually had 2 Gatorades today, so I think I already have plenty of electrolytes. Would I visit Vietnam and go to the Tunnel Rats? Well, I actually would be interested in going to Vietnam one day, possibly. I do have a lot of Vietnamese viewers. I actually have 2 Vietnamese viewers watching right now. But my Vietnamese viewers have told me that it's not dangerous for even if you've criticized Vietnam before, it's not dangerous generally. So I would be interested in possibly going in the future. But I will tell you, I will never visit China. Vietnam I'll consider visiting, but China I will never visit. And the reason, because China is way more, their government is way more psycho than Vietnam's government. Vietnam is a dictatorship, it is, but it's not as bad as China. China is just, the government in China is just way more psycho than Vietnam's government. And if the Chinese government basically saw, like, my posts, my videos, because I made videos criticizing Chinese government so many times, like, I've made a lot of videos criticizing China in the past. If they've, seen my, even if they saw my Kane and Lynch 2 playthrough, because on my Kane and Lynch 2 playthrough, all I did was talk about China's corruption, nonstop, yeah, I would have some serious problems. I am kinda, so what's your take on libertarianism? I am a libertarian. I do, identify mostly with libertarianism.
I can take it from here. You can or you can trust me. It's all there.
The deputies in Sinclair Parish are actually savages, basically Southern Union mindset. At night, they can unofficially largely kill black people. Well, yeah, in that time period, in like the South in the 1960s, a lot of police officers were actually KKK members. They had links to that. And so even the top people in the police knew about that, and they did nothing to stop that stuff from happening. And here's the thing is, do you know, like, the southern states back in the day, a lot of people don't know this, the southern states had, like, permits for, carrying guns, like, conceal and open carry and stuff like that. But the thing about that is that the government would be the ones to approve your permit. And what would happen is that was basically their way to stop black people from owning firearms. What they would do is they would, they couldn't deny people outright from buying firearms because it's your Second Amendment right. You have a right to own a firearm. But what they would do is basically anybody who's a black applicant, they would just deny it and not give you a reason. But like today, like most states, do not have permits for that anymore, and so you don't, that stuff does not really happen anymore. So the government can't really stop you, from owning a firearm, and that's that's one of the most ridiculous things that I've seen is like denying somebody a firearm because of their race. That's like it's one of the most ridiculous things. It's a clear violation of the Constitution. Doing crap like that. But that's basically how a lot of the southern states operated back then. Yeah, well, London, yeah, a lot of times the police back then, they would get away with a lot of stuff, like murders too. Is a lot of extreme corruption. What are your thoughts on corporatocracy? A government ran by corporations, this disaster waiting to happen. The reason it's a disaster waiting to happen is because you're going to have a lot of corporations that are basically going to fight over profit. They're going to fight over, making money, together. And when you really think about it, America in the Fallout world, if you know the Fallout lore, America in the Fallout world was kind of that, basically, before the Great War happened. It was basically like a country controlled by several, large corporations. That's basically how America operated, before the Great War, where China was like a brutal communist dictatorship in the Fallout world, but America was like a country that was controlled by these elite corporations like Nuka-Cola, Robco, and these huge companies basically decided what they were doing in their government. But if you have like a government that's run by corporations, it's a disaster waiting to happen because the corporations are going to think primarily about how to make profits. They're not going to think about the well-being of the people, and they're not going to think about the country. Corporations have no country. They just think about money. They don't think about their country. They just think about money. And so that's what I will say about that is they would screw over the country at any point. Like, if there was like a foreign country that wanted to basically just drill all of America's oil for just really cheap, like if Russia basically wanted to basically buy up all of America's oil in Alaska for like really cheap, basically ripping us off, if these corporations were making a profit, they would do that, and they would basically sell out their country's natural resources, to do stuff like that. So that's what I'll say about that. It's a disaster basically waiting to happen. It's a country run by a bunch of corporations. It would not work. And not only that, it would probably end in civil war because each corporation would probably make their own military and they would just fight against each other for control of the country. So it's just a nightmare basically waiting to happen. It's just Hey Pro, where do I buy a South Vietnamese flag in America? Just go on Amazon. Amazon is probably the best place that you can buy it. You can also buy it in Vietnamese neighborhoods. If you go into any kind of Vietnamese neighborhood, I guarantee you, if you go into some Vietnamese shops, you can buy the South Vietnamese flag, easily. Because Vietnamese shops in America, whenever they have flags outside, it's either the American flag or the South Vietnamese flag or both. So that is so in a lot of Vietnamese shops you could probably find that because most Vietnamese people that live in America are extremely pro South Vietnam. So you could probably find it in a Vietnamese neighborhood, but the easiest place to probably find a South Vietnamese flag is go on Amazon. Go on Amazon and type in South Vietnamese flag and you probably would find it, and it probably is on it. Let me actually I'll even check for you. I'll check for you. See, I'm curious if it is. Amazon probably has it. Let me see. South Vietnamese flag. Let's see if it's on Amazon. It has to be on Amazon. Yep, it's on Amazon. And there's several people that are selling it. Yep, it is on Amazon. Yeah, it's all over Amazon. It is. I wonder what the 1-star reviews say. I'm just looking at the 1-star reviews because it's like usually the people that put like 1-star reviews are like people that are extremely political and they get really pissed off. Yeah, most of the complaints here are just about the quality of the flags, not necessarily anything political, but it's yeah. Would you say they'd be a mafia-like? What's mafia-like? What, like corporations controlling the government? In a way, yeah. Thank you, Belardo, for subscribing to my channel. What's my thoughts on Prussia? very negative. Hang on a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, about, what the hell? I don't know how they saw that. About Prussia. What I was gonna say about it. Prussia, Prussia is basically... It was a really weird country. Because Prussia had a government, but its entire government was just for show. Like, the Prime Minister of Prussia was a puppet. Like, the government of Prussia, who really controlled the shots, it was a bunch of military generals. They were the people. They did have a king, sure, but it was like a bunch of military generals. Like, the military were the ones who ruled Prussia. And so their government was basically just for show. It was just, you know, it wasn't like... It had no purpose other than, like, you know, just to keep up appearances. That's really the whole purpose of the Prussian government. And the thing about Prussia is that Prussia historically is literally like one of the most warmongering countries on the planet. The thing about Prussia is, like, a lot of people like Prussia because they look at their military drills and their military uniforms. They're like, oh, they have really cool uniforms, you know, their drills are so cool, and, you know, stuff like that. What they don't understand is that Prussia was such a militaristic, imperialist country. Like, literally, the Prussians started wars with every single one of their neighbors. Like, everybody. They started a war with Poland. They started a war with Austria. You know, they started a war with France. You know, they started a war with the Swedes. They started a war with the Danes. Literally every single country that is around Prussia, they have invaded. Like, literally every single one. And how did Prussia finally end? Prussia was part of Nazi Germany during World War II. And what happened was they invaded the country that would be, you know, the stupidest one in their history to invade, which was the Soviet Union. And after the Soviet Union pretty much conquered all of Prussia, they basically said, you know what, forget this, and they just annexed it. And that's where Prussia is. So, like, you know that small little part of Russia that they control over Poland, you know, Kaliningrad, that is actually what was East Prussia. And so that was the end of Prussia. Is that and the Soviets, what they did was they exiled all the Prussians, or I would say the Germans, that lived in that area. So that is pretty much what happened to it. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did become Kaliningrad, yeah. Pearl, have I played... Oh, I don't know that game, Orion. Mind's Eye is a great game. Lewis, you gotta be trolling. You're trolling, aren't you, dude? What's the news, Phoenix? Thoughts on Joseph McCarthy? Thank you, Opinionated Junkie. And thank you, Jen Fox, for the super chat. What I would say about Joseph McCarthy, Joseph McCarthy was a bit of a scumbag because, and here's what people don't know. Cancel culture started with Joseph McCarthy. Joseph McCarthy was basically the first form of cancel culture. That's where that garbage basically started. But about Joseph McCarthy. I would say it started out on a good premise, trying to find, like, you know, communists that were, you know, infiltrating America, because there was a communist infiltration of America. It was happening, but it wasn't happening to the extent that McCarthy was saying. Like, McCarthy was acting like this was some giant, you know, conspiracy involving hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe it was like a few thousand people at most, but it was definitely not hundreds of thousands of people. There was not this, you know, giant communist conspiracy as he Yeah. Owning a South Vietnamese flag indicates that you support capitalism from the Vietnam War. And do you know who the biggest supporter of capitalism in Vietnam is right now? The Vietnamese government. They can deny it all they want. They can call themselves communists all they want. But Vietnam is very much a transition to a capitalist system. But about McCarthy, what I'll say about McCarthy is he went too far with it. He went psycho with it. McCarthy started going after people that had nothing to do with communism. And so, literally, if you, for example, believed in civil rights, if you said, I think that, that everybody, all races are equal, white people and black people are equal, I'm against segregation. If you said stuff like that, you could be labeled as a communist by McCarthy. And what would happen is when you got labeled as a communist, you didn't get arrested, because in America you can't get arrested for your political views. But what they would do instead is the government would basically put you on this blacklist. And when they put you on this blacklist, every single time you tried to get a job anywhere, they would just say, you're on the blacklist, you're a suspected communist. And so people would not be able to get jobs anywhere. They would go homeless. You would not be able to apply for a bank loan anywhere. You would not be able to apply for a credit card. Basically, your life would be ruined, essentially. Everywhere you tried to go, you had to jump through hoops after hoops after hoops. Constantly. And it was a form of cancel culture. It was basically like, somebody suspected of being a communist, and they basically would just ruin their life, and they would not let them get a job anywhere. That's pretty much what it was. And the thing about the thing about it was called the House of Un-American Activities Committee. In the Fallout world, they never disappeared. So in the Fallout world, it still existed, the House of Un-American Activities Committee, but it existed in the 50s. In the Fallout TV show, I know they do mention it. They mention the House of Un-American Activities Committee, and even though that TV show takes place in the 2070s, it's because the culture of the 50s never ended. But also, if you, for example, said, I think that the military budget should be cut, I think we're spending too much on the military, you'd be considered unpatriotic, and you could be considered a communist. If you, for example, said, I believe in gun rights, I believe that everybody, should have a gun to, resist government tyranny, if you said something like that, which that's what the Second Amendment was actually written for in the first place, was to resist government tyranny, but if you said something like that, you'll be labeled as a communist, which I don't even know how the government could label somebody who supports gun rights as a communist. One of the stupidest things that I've heard, because it's literally people who support gun rights, do not want, a giant communist government, controlling them. Literally is, communists historically have just did mass gun confiscation. So I don't know how supporting, gun rights could, get you labeled as a communist. One of the stupidest things I've heard. But that's basically what happened with the House of Un-American Activities Committee, is it basically just, got out of control. It went crazy. The other how the House of Un-American Activities Committee actually ended was that there was a lot of corruption. What would happen is that politicians would bribe McCarthy, and they would basically pay him, and they would basically say, oh, I don't like this politician, I want you to label him as a communist. And what would happen is, if you got labeled as a communist, that would destroy your political career, because Americans hate communism more than anyone. And even if you're not a communist, if you just, falsely got accused of being a communist, that would destroy your political career. You are over. It is done for you. And so there was a lot of corruption where people, top people in society would get labeled as, communists. Notably, there was a thing in Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood actors got accused of being communists by the House of Un-American Activities Committee. But how it basically ended was it ended under Eisenhower. Eisenhower, when he was the president, he basically told McCarthy, you gotta calm down. This is getting out of control. And do you know what McCarthy did? McCarthy accused Eisenhower's administration of being infiltrated by communists. He said the presidency is infiltrated by communists. And when he accused the president of sympathizing with communists, and, Eisenhower was definitely not a communist. Eisenhower was a very anti-communist. When he accused Eisenhower of being pro-communist, Eisenhower lost his crap. I was flipping out. And Eisenhower, for the most part, was a pretty calm guy. But literally, that made Eisenhower just flip out and lose his crap. And Eisenhower basically said, that's it. I'm done with this BS. And what he did was he closed the whole thing down. He shut the whole thing down and ended it. So that's basically how it ended, is that it ended with with that crap, with the McCarthy basically accused the president of being pro-communist, and Eisenhower said, that's it, this is stupid, and he just ended the whole thing. Hey Pro, what are your thoughts on the game Homefront? It's about a war between the US and North Korea. Lucky is curious about your opinion. Hey Snowy Imp, and hey Lucky. What I will say about that, here. Here's what I'll say. What was it? What I'll say about it is that Homefront I liked for the most part. I did beat the game. I didn't play the second one. I didn't play Homefront the Revolution. I did play Homefront 1, the 2010 one, and I did like it for the most part. I thought it was an interesting game. I thought it had an interesting story where like North Korea becomes a superpower and invades America. And the thing is, people laugh at stuff like that and they say like, oh, North Korea can never become a superpower. But you have to remember that in the Homefront world, they have like a whole lore behind how North Korea became so powerful. It wasn't that North Korea became so powerful overnight. It happened over a few decades, or more like a decade and a half, like a 15-year period, where like North Korea became so powerful. Because the game takes place in the 2030s, but North Korea started becoming a powerful country in the 2010s. And what North Korea did was it united with South Korea. And Kim Jong-un rigged the elections, and he, became like president of United Korea. And then what ended up happening is, Korea, what it did was it annexed Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia joined like the Korean Economic Union, or I think that's what it was called in the game. And then the Philippines joined it, and then Japan was forced to join it. And so North Korea had taken over a huge amount of land. And when people say that a poor country can never become a rising superpower, think about it this way. The Weimar Republic, you know what the Weimar Republic was? The Weimar Republic was Germany before it was the Nazis. The Weimar Republic was such a poor country. It was so poor that the average Polish person made more money than the average German back then. And I'm not saying that Poland was a very, poor country. Poland wasn't necessarily a rich country, but people in Poland had better living standards than the average Germans did. And so that's how poor Germany was. Germany was a very, very, poor country. Germany was like one of the poorest country in probably all of Central Europe. During the Weimar Republic. And Germany went from being, a poor, country to becoming an industrial powerhouse in a number of years and becoming, a military superpower with the strongest military in Europe. And so just don't think that, like, a poor country cannot become a very powerful country. It can eventually happen. And that's what Homefront's story was mostly about. It was about how, like, Germany went from being this poor country to being a, powerful superpower. And that's what happened in North Korea. It went from being a poor country to being a superpower in that game. And it attacked America. Let me see here. Will we get Red Dead Redemption 2 60 FPS this year? No, probably not. And hope you're well. Thank you, Feline King. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trolling. It's just sad that it had so much potential. If you could get behind the game right now, what would you do to revive it, like Cyberpunk? Honestly, trying to revive the game would be very difficult. But what I would do to try to revive Mind's Eye is probably put it on PlayStation Plus. And when developers put a game on PlayStation Plus, they earn a specific amount of money from Sony. But put the game on PlayStation Plus, but once the game is fixed, everything is fixed, and include, like, the first or second DLC expansion is free. And, like, show that you're going to continuously support the game, that you're going to listen to fan feedback, and you're going to keep adding more and more to the game. Because here's the thing is, if a game like Fallout 76, can be fixed, I think a game like Mind's Eye could be fixed as well, because Fallout 76 was a disaster at launch, but now it's a pretty good game, and it's including a DLC expansion in December, a map expansion. Ohio is coming out to Fallout 76. It's gonna be the new map, Ohio. But at the same time, too, is I can understand why Fallout succeeded where Mind's Eye failed. While Fallout 76 was a disaster at launch, the problem is that Fallout had a huge community. It had a community of Fallout fans. Like, Fallout fans already existed before Fallout 76. So it had already the Fallout community, which is pretty huge. And so because of that, they were able to fix the game and still get that community to play the game. But Mind's Eye doesn't really have that community. So I would say I kind of take back, comparing it to Fallout 76. It kind of it's going to be very difficult to fix the game. What might happen is they might just give up on the game and they might not release any DLCs because they planned all these DLCs. But they were here's the thing, guys. They were supposed to release the Hitman DLC in July, and it's October now, and it still hasn't come out. And for people wondering, I know some people are going to say what the F when I tell you this, but Hitman and Mind's Eye is in the same universe. I know some people are like, what? It is? Yes, it is. Hitman and Mind's Eye is in the exact same universe. It is. Because it's made by the same publisher. The same publisher makes both games. And they have basically confirmed that it takes place in the same universe. So the Mind's Eye world is the same world that is the Hitman world. It's just in the future. but Agent 47 does exist in the Mind's Eye world, and Agent 47 was supposed to get a story expansion in Mind's Eye. There's even a trailer for it. You can even see, you know, Agent 47 in the trailer for Mind's Eye. He does exist. You can see him in it. So they were supposed to have that, but it didn't happen. And I'm wondering whether it's even going to happen at all now. But honestly speaking, I don't know if I want that to happen. And the reason I don't know if I want that to happen is because even though I really like Hitman, the reason I might not want a Hitman DLC for Mind's Eye is because they might ruin him. And that might really ruin 47. So that's basically what I'll say about that. It's because Mind's Eye has no stealth in it. It has no stealth. There is no stealth in Mind's Eye. And you would think the main character was like former Special Forces. You would think if the main character was former Special Forces, you would think that there'd be stealth in the game, that he'd like quietly take out a lot of these guys, but he doesn't. There's no stealth whatsoever in Mind's Eye. There's not even a suppressed weapon in the game. And so if they did a DLC where 47 just basically went one-man army, you play as 47 and you kill everybody, that's one of the stupidest things ever, because that's not what 47 does. 47 is not like that. 47 doesn't just go and just kill everybody. 47 is like a ghost. He basically goes into an area, kills the targets quietly, and leaves. And that's the only person he kills. He doesn't kill anybody else. He doesn't kill any innocent people. He doesn't kill any guards or anything like that, really. He knocks them out, sure, but he doesn't. But that's about it. And so that's what I'll say about that, is that if they have some ridiculous crap where 47 is killing everybody, it's going to ruin, Hitman's story. It's going to be stupid. It's dumb. What was the deal with those settlers in Covenant? Covenant? Well, what are you talking about, TB Bunny? Thank you for the super chat. Pro, you should make audiobooks. I don't know. Like, if I made audiobooks, it would be like the most weirdest thing. Like, listen to this guy rant about random, parts in history and video game history at the same time too. Yeah, that's why the Hitman movies failed. Well, the thing about the Hitman movies, what I'll say about them is that the Hitman 2007 movie could have succeeded, because. Here's the thing. Has anybody here in chat watched both Hitman movies, like Hitman 2007, Hitman 2015? Like, do you guys agree with me that Hitman 2007 is like 100 times better than Hitman 2015? Because Hitman 2015 was such a bad movie. It was such a bad movie. It was Hitman in the 2007 Hitman was actually pretty good. It was. And that one scene when Agent 47 is in that when he's in that Russian hotel, and like the Russian special forces and the Spetsnaz are like going after him, and he starts killing them all, that kind of makes sense. It doesn't like break the Hitman lore. The reason it doesn't break the Hitman lore is because he got betrayed by his contact, his client. So his client, who he was taking the job from, betrayed him and leaked his location to the Spetsnaz, and that's how the Spetsnaz basically found where he was, and they kind of jumped him, and so that kind of made sense why he killed all of them, because he was betrayed, and so they found out his location. So that kind of can excuse that scene. But like the scenes in Hitman 2015 were just so bad. It was like him just killing everybody. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. It was dumb. The Hitman 2015, it only had one good scene. Only one good scene in the whole movie. Only one. The only good scene in that entire movie. The only good scene in the entire movie is when he says, no, you're locked in here with me. That's what he says. That was a cool scene, I'll have to admit. But that is the only good scene in that entire movie. The entire 2015 movie sucks. The only good scene is that movie where he says, you're locked in here with me. That was the only good scene in the whole movie. The rest of the 2015 Hitman movie was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It was awful. And also, you know what really pissed me off too? When Agent 47 missed his sniper shot. When he missed his sniper shot, when that girl was running away from him in the car with the guy, I seen the movie so long ago, and they're driving away from him, and he basically gets on the rooftop and aims at them, and he misses his shot. That's BS. 47 never misses. He never does. And so that's what I'll say about that, is that was BS. So literally, it's if you have Agent 47 after you, if he is after you, literally you are dead. There is nothing you can do about that. Literally nothing. Is that you are dead and you don't know it yet. That is pretty much it. You are dead. If you are if 47 is after you, you're dead. The second that he gets that contract and he takes the contract, you're dead. You're dead. It's just only a matter of time, but you're done. You are not going to escape. No matter where you go, you are not going to get away from him. You are not going to survive. Nothing else. The only way that you would survive Agent 47 going after you if he was after you is if the target changed, if something like that. If the target changed, if you were not his target anymore, like something, the contract changed or something like that, that's the only time you would survive. But other than that, you are done. You are dead. You are not getting away. The 2015 movie was just Agent 47 with GTA, pretty much, yeah. The Covenant settlers. Bunny, wasn't Covenant like that really creepy like town in Fallout 4 with like the walls and the weren't they the town that was like killing synths? Like they were capturing synths and like taking them to some lab. Was that the town that I'm thinking of? Or was that something else? What are your thoughts of those Rockstar employees being harassed in Scotland by people wanting to know if GTA 6 is getting delayed again? Oh my god. Those people are so stupid. Hey Joker, what's up, man? Those people are so stupid. It's like the same thing with the GTA voice actors. There are people that like the GTA voice actors. They know nothing about GTA 6. I guarantee you. I guarantee you that Ned Luke, Sean Fontano, and Stephen Ogg, the people who plays Trevor, Michael, and Franklin, I guarantee you they know nothing about GTA 6. Like nothing. They know zero, anything about it. The only way that either of them would know about GTA 6 is if they played some small role in the game. If they were maybe like some small character that was in the background, like in a cutscene or something like that, maybe they would know a tiny bit, but that's about it. Like maybe like Johnny, for example, how he appeared in GTA, GTA 5. Like, Johnny's voice actor, he knew about GTA, a little bit about GTA 5, but that's about it. Like, they would not know anything else. And these, and do you know who I blame for this? Who I blame for this is I blame these stupid YouTubers. That's who I would blame for this, like these dumb YouTubers. Because I will tell you this, if I was Ned Luke, if I was Ned Luke, or if I was Stephen Ogg, or if I was Sean Fontano, if I was any of these GTA voice actors, do you know what I would do if I was one of these GTA voice actors? What I would do is I would basically like go to my lawyer. And I would go to my lawyer and I would show him all these clickbait videos, like these clickbait GTA videos. And I'll basically say, is there anything we can do about this? Like, can we take this idiot to court? Like, can we do anything about this? And that's what I would do. And some people are saying, is that going too far? No, it's not. The reason it's not going too far is because these stupid clickbait YouTubers have spread so much misinformation, like lying about these GTA voice actors, constantly spreading false information about them, like stuff that is not true, which is defamation in a way too. And what these YouTubers have done is these YouTubers have spread so much misinformation that these GTA actors are getting harassed. Like, they are actually getting harassed because of these stupid YouTubers that are constantly spreading so much information. And so, like, you know those stupid videos, like you see like a video, like it's like the most clickbait garbage ever. It's like the title of the video is Sean Fontano talks about GTA 6. Like, that's what the name of the video might be. And like, you see the thumbnail is like a picture of Sean Fontano. There's like a little word bubble and it says like GTA 6, like highlighted. And then you click on the video and Sean Fontano is not even talking about GTA 6. The only thing the guy is just, the stupid YouTuber is like dragging out 8 minutes. The reason they make the video 8 minutes is because when you're a YouTuber, if your video goes past 8 minutes, you can add more ads into it. And so what these YouTubers are doing is that they're dragging out the video just to get more ads in it. And what they're doing is they're just talking about leaks. They're not talking about like any actual information with Sean Fontano or any of this stuff. They're just talking about potential leaks and like potential rumors. That's all it is, pretty much. So that's what I would say is if I was one of the GTA voice actors, I would literally talk to a lawyer and be like, is there anything we can do about this? Like, is this like grounds for like suing? Because this is like this is ridiculous. Like, because these voice and some people might find this funny that like that stuff like this happens, but I'm telling you, these guys don't think it's funny. These guys are getting harassed. Like, these GTA voice actors are getting actually harassed in their daily lives because of these stupid clickbaiters. And most of the people that are harassing these GTA voice actors are little kids. They're little kids who like watch like these stupid like YouTube channels that like have millions of subscribers and constantly like spread false information around, and they believe this stuff. And the guy who actually plays as Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2, he got harassed. He actually got harassed because of these YouTubers. And I'll answer the super chats in one moment here, guys. But basically what happened is, do you guys remember in 2019, 2019 was the year of Red Dead Redemption clickbait. Do you guys remember that? If you guys know about, if anybody who plays Red Dead Redemption 2 here, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the Red Dead 2 clickbait. Because in 2019 there was all this clickbait and it was so stupid, and the clickbait was so ridiculous. It was like these fake thumbnails, that aren't even like screenshots of the game, but it would be like, say the Adler, DLC expansion, coming out, like Javier Escuela, DLC expansion coming out, Young Dutch, play as a Young Dutch, prequel DLC coming out, like stuff like that. And these YouTubers constantly spreading all this false information that we were going to get all this Red Dead Redemption 2 story DLC. And what happened was Roger Clark, the guy who actually plays as Arthur Morgan, he made, I think it was on Twitter or Instagram, I don't remember what it was, but on social media, he basically said on social media, he said, "I'm working on a new project, guys." And what happened was, he never said, "I'm working on a Red Dead Redemption 2 project." All he said is, "I'm working on a new project." And these stupid YouTubers, these idiot YouTubers, what they did was they started speculating on that. And they started, posting all these videos saying Roger Clark is working on a new Red Dead Redemption 2 story DLC, new story DLC coming out. And what ended up happening was Roger Clark had his social media spammed. Like, it was just spammed with, like, people saying, like, "What's the new Red Dead Redemption 2 DLC? This YouTuber said, you're working on new Red Dead 2 DLC." And Roger Clark got harassed so badly that what he did was he went to that YouTuber's channel and he actually left a comment on their video, and he said, "This is nonsense. I'm not working on anything Red Dead Redemption 2 related. I'm working on a new music video." And that's what it was. It was a music video that he was working on. And it had nothing to do with Red Dead Redemption 2. And Roger Clark was clear, and he said, "The only time that there will be new information in Red Dead Redemption is when Rockstar gives you new information. Not me. It's not going to be coming from me. It's going to be coming from Rockstar." And so he was getting harassed because of these idiots. So that's basically what I'll say about that, is that these YouTubers have literally caused these GTA and Red Dead voice actors to, get actually harassed because of this. I'd be pissed. If I was one of these voice actors, I'd be pissed. I'd be really annoyed. Like, that was it. And these YouTubers are basically just milking this crap, spreading false rumors, false misinformation about these actors, and just ruining their personal lives. And that's why, like, these GTA voice actors, a lot of times they can't have any privacy. They want to have privacy. Everybody wants privacy. Everybody wants to spend time with their family. They want to go on vacation in peace. They want to go on vacation without getting harassed, going anywhere. And every single time they travel anywhere, like if Ned Luke goes on vacation to, like, Los Angeles, like, these idiot YouTubers will spread misinformation. They'll be like, "Oh, he's working on new GTA Online DLC." No, he's not. He's just going on vacation to Los Angeles. You people are idiots. So that's what I'll say about it, is that these stupid YouTubers are just constantly milking this stuff for money, dragging out these videos and spreading false misinformation, which is getting these actors harassed, and it's not fair to the actors. So so like, you know that thing that happened like a couple years ago, and like Ned Luke was like basically like, saying about that one GTA YouTuber. I don't even want to say the name here right now because I don't want to give them attention, but he was basically like, saying like, "Oh, it's all BS" and stuff like that. The reason that Ned Luke was getting all pissed off was because he knows where it's coming from, because he's gotten harassed, and he's gotten, these idiot YouTubers that are basically just spreading false misinformation around, just to try to basically get views and clicks. That's all it is. So that's ultimately what I'll say about that, is that it's and it's not, it doesn't just apply to GTA voice actors, also U20. It also applies to Rockstar employees. If you are any kind of like, Rockstar employee, if you work anything with Rockstar, you're going to get harassed. And I guarantee you that Rockstar is keeping a tight lid on that. Rockstar is being very tight with their employees on that, on, what employees can see and what they know specifically. And they told them, you cannot talk about this. And if any Rockstar employee talks about GTA 6, I guarantee you they will get sued into oblivion. So that is, that's basically that, is that a lot of times these people can't have privacy because the hype for GTA 6, the obsession with this stuff, is just ridiculous. And the thing is, I care about the mental health of these developers. I do. And even if GTA gets delayed, as long as, like, their mental health is, like, better, and, they don't get stressed out so much, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with GTA 6 even getting delayed to, like, Christmas next year, as long as, like, the mental health of the developers is fine. Because that's all, your health is the most important thing. But when Red Dead Redemption 2 was coming out, Rockstar was, like, milking these developers, like, really, like, working them to the end. Like, these developers were, like, being pushed to their limits. Like, there was all these reports that were coming out saying how these developers were working, like, 6 days a week, barely any breaks, just pushed for to release Red Dead Redemption 2. And, like, I really hope that they're not doing that to the developers again for GTA 6. Like, I hope they've given them some space and some breathing room, because, like, I don't want somebody's mental health and physical health to suffer because, we're getting GTA 6 early. And I will say also about this, guys, and last thing about this is, while I haven't been harassed that much, it's also happened to me too. I've had people that come to my channel and they think that I know something about GTA 6. Like, they think that just because I have like 1 million subscribers and I do like primarily like GTA videos, they think that I have some kind of insider information or I know something about Rockstar. I was even in a PlayStation party with one of my viewers, and he was like, "Can you tell me about GTA 6? Like, tell me about it." And I was like, "Dude, I don't know anything about that." He's like, "No, no, not in a video. I mean, like, privately. Can you just tell me about the game and like stuff like that?" He's like, "I know you know about it." It's like, "No, I don't know about it." He's like, "No, come on, I know you know about it. You're 1 million subs." It's like, "No, I don't know anything about it." But I've had even people ask me, like, tell me about GTA 6. I don't know anything about the game. I know as much as you guys. I know about the trailers, and that's it. All the information that was released. I know everything that everybody else knows. I don't know anything extra. I don't. And even if I knew something, I wouldn't be allowed to tell you. But I'm telling you, I don't know anything. I don't. I swear on that. And so I don't. And the thing is, Rockstar would never work with me. They wouldn't. The reason they would never work with me is because I have criticized Rockstar so many times in my previous videos. They would never work with me. I guarantee you they never would. Even when Rockstar mentioned like all the YouTubers they wanted to thank for like helping GTA Online make a success, I never saw my name mentioned. I don't think at least my name was mentioned there. So that was so I know that they don't like me, or at least they would never work with me because I've made heavy criticisms of them before in the past. So that has happened. But that's basically the backstory on that. I remember there was a YouTuber who worked with Rockstar before. Like, he was a car YouTuber. I think it was Bruffy it was. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I remember he criticized the speed in one of the vehicles, and then after he criticized the speed in the vehicles, Rockstar just cut all contact with him. Was it Bruffy? I don't want to spread false information here myself, but I just don't know. I know it was a car YouTuber, but it was like one YouTuber who he criticized like one of the vehicles in the game, and then what happened was Rockstar just cut all contact with him just because he criticized the speed of one of the vehicles. It was ridiculous. The preacher at my church said anyone that watches WWE will go to hell. This is in 2007, a few days after the Chris Benoit tragedy. Your thoughts, Pro? I think that preacher's an idiot. Now, I have respect for people of faith and especially religious leaders, but even religious leaders are subject to criticism, and you cannot talk about some stuff like that. Like trying to say that people are gonna go to hell because you watch WWE. One of the stupidest things that I've heard. It's one of the dumbest things that I've honestly heard. And I don't want to really get into religion, but like I will just say like let's just say in a theoretical situation is like in the afterlife, you're in the afterlife, and you says to you, what you went to you watched WWE, now you're going to hell. That's no. Stuff like that. And I don't want to make a joke about religion or anything here, but it's just what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. It's like going to hell for watching a TV show. It's not some satanic stuff, some bad stuff. It's just entertainment. It's WWE. So it's one of the most ridiculous, dumbest things I've honestly heard. Going to hell because you watch WWE. That is just ridiculous. That's dumb. Going to hell because you watch WWE. That is just stupid. If anything, you know who's gonna go to hell. If anything, who's gonna go to hell? Not the people that watch WWE. The people that spread lies and say that people that watch WWE are gonna go to hell. If anything, that person has more of a chance of going to hell than somebody who watches WWE. Thoughts on gaming publishers being bought out? Thank you, opinionated junkie. I actually don't know that much about it. I know EA got bought out by a Saudi company, but I don't know more than that, though. That preacher got scared of the Undertaker. Oh, come on. It's a the Undertaker is a I think you're joking, right? But if anything, I think that's probably what it was. Is like Kane. It was Kane and Undertaker. That's probably what the preacher was probably pissed about, saying, "Oh, Kane and Undertaker." Because Kane is a guy in Christianity. He is one of the first humans. The story is basically that he killed his brother with a rock because he was jealous of his brother. So he had the mark of Cain. He was generally like a bad person. But Kane that's in WWE, he doesn't even spell his name the same way as Kane from Religion, because Kane in Religion is spelled C-A-I-N. Kane in WWE is spelled in K-A-N-E. And the thing about Kane is like one of the most nicest people ever. Like if you've seen Kane outside of his like WWE persona, he is one of the most nicest people in public. Like if you've met him, he is such a friendly, nice person. Like I've seen interviews with him. He's such a cool person. So he's not a satanic person or anything like that. This is his character. It's just his character is just this creepy like cold ruthless guy in WWE, and he plays that character well. That's ultimately he's not a evil person. He's the mayor of Knox County. I know about that. Kane is actually a libertarian. He's actually a very small government person in real life. I actually know about that. That I do know. Yes. I missed a milestone chat. Oh, let me look. Oh, I'm sorry. Me and my homie Azamat just parked our slab outside. We're looking for somewhere to post our black asses for the night. I know where that's from. That's from Borat. That is thank you for the milestone chat Chatsarooney. Thank you for sponsoring my channel for what is that? That is 6 years at this point. Six years. Yeah, thank you for sponsoring my channel for 6 years, dude. But yeah, the Borat scene. The Borat scene is the funny. I gotta say that scene when Borat meets those guys that teach him to act gangster, like that is the funniest scene. Like if I had to say like the funniest scene in the entire movie. Like Borat has a lot of really funny scenes, but I would say the funniest scene in the entire movie is that scene, like the hotel scene. Like they teach him to act gangster, and he pulls up, and he has like his pants lowered to his underwear showing, and then he talks to the guy at the hotel. that I remember that scene too. That was he gets thrown out of the hotel. That is the funniest scene. And the thing about that is those people that taught him to act gangster, those guys were like the nicest people in the movie. They and the people from the bed and breakfast, like the old couple from the bed and breakfast, so like the people that taught him, the young people that taught him to act gangster, and the old people from the bed and breakfast, they were like the nicest people in the whole movie. But like everybody else in that movie was like really nasty. They were like really rude. So like that's what I would say about that is that yeah, like most of the other people in the movie were like really nasty, but those were some of the nicest people in the movie. You know what I really hope? Because here's what people don't know about Borat. 99% of Borat is real. That's what people don't know about it. The 1% of the movie that's fake is the movie with Pamela Anderson. So like when he goes to Pamela and he throws that bag over her, that was real. But everything else, I mean that was fake. But everything else was real. So everything else was real. He was really trolling the people, and the people like didn't know that they were being trolled. But like everything else was real. So like Pamela was the only person that was in on it, in on the joke. And the prostitute, that he was with, she was in on the joke too. She knew about the joke too. But the Pamela and the prostitute were the only people that really were in on the joke. Obviously Azamat, but that was it. It was mostly when Borat went around talking to people, he would tell them he's filming a documentary for Kazakhstan, and most people believed him. But then he started trolling. But I'll tell you something. Borat had some really crazy things happen. That movie came out when I was a kid. I actually saw that movie in theaters when it came out. I actually went with my mom to see that movie. It was actually my mom who suggested seeing that movie. I remember. The reason that my mom wanted to see that movie was because she said it's about a guy from Kazakhstan comes to America, and my mom thought that it was gonna be like she thought that because my mom is from Eastern Europe, and I guess she could kind of relate to that in a way. She thought it was gonna be like a movie about a guy immigrating to America, but she didn't really know it fully what it was. But we still like enjoyed the movie. We still enjoyed the movie. We was that. So like my mom didn't really fully know what the movie was when we went to go see it, but it was really funny. We didn't regret seeing it. It was one of the funniest movies. No, Borat was mostly all real. It mostly was like him trolling, like especially like when he trolled the people at the Southern dinner, like that dinner. Remember the dinner where he trolled the people at the dinner, and then he brought the prostitute, and that was they throw him out. That was real. That was actually their reaction. They were pissed. Isn't the Jimmy DLC in Mafia 2 non-canon? It is, Bunny. Thank you for the milestone chat, but yes, it is not canon. You're right. GTA 6 celebrates Doomsday, World War 3. All this clickbaiters need to stop. Yeah, it does. The clickbait is getting way too far. Yeah, but I think his funniest movie will be Borat. I don't think anything will beat that. Like, people think Dictator is the funniest movie, but I don't. I think Borat is the funniest movie. The reason I think Borat is so funny is because Borat is just so random. It's so bizarre. It, like, comes out of nowhere. It's like people don't expect that stuff. It's like people think he's filming a documentary and they don't expect all the crazy stuff that's gonna happen. So I think Borat is, like, the funniest movie because you see people's, like, actual reactions, how people are actually reacting to that stuff. And that's what makes the movie so funny, is, like, people's reactions. Bonnie McFarlane appeared on the train with John at the beginning. Her actress Kimberly Iron didn't get that role at the time. So she was portrayed by Steve J. Palmer, who played Bill Williamson. Wait, what? Thank you, Minion Dave, for the super chat. I'm confused. What? Bonnie was played by Bill Williamson's voice actor. I don't understand. What do you mean? But I will tell you something. I'll tell you something really crazy about Borat, guys. Borat got sued for that movie constantly. He got sued for that movie. Like, so many people sued him, but every single lawsuit failed because the judges said it was an expression of free speech. Even if it was a troll, it was an expression of free speech. The other crazy thing about Borat is that Borat he had the police called on him over 90 times while filming. So, 90 times while filming the movie. I can imagine the amount of things people called the police on him for. And there's a lot of deleted scenes. A lot of deleted scenes that never made it into the movie. I didn't see Borat 2. Borat 2, I never saw that one. Here's the crazy thing I'll tell you guys about Borat. Do you guys remember that scene with where he goes to the news station? Remember that scene? He goes to the news station and he kisses the guy. And then he stands up, and as he's talking to a news broadcaster, he stands up and he tells the guy on live TV, he's like, I'm from Kazakhstan, and if you come to my country, you can stay at my house. And then he says you can sleep with his sister. He says that to the guy on TV, and then they cut the interview short. And then after they cut the interview short, he walks in front of the weatherman. The producer actually got fired. So the producer who brought Borat in on that news broadcast, he got fired. Because the producer didn't do his research on who he was, that he was like a troll, that he wasn't actually from Kazakhstan, and so that guy got fired. Do you guys remember the scene with the old couple, the old people at the old Jewish couple that was at the bed and breakfast, and he was like really trolling them like really badly? Like he was, and the thing about that scene is it was kind of messed up. It was really funny. But it was also I kind of felt bad in a way too, because the old people were just so nice to him. Like, they were so nice to him. They were such sweet people. But he was trolling them. And then in the middle of the night, he just basically just runs out of the house. He just runs out of the bed and breakfast just screaming. Probably woke them up. But here's the crazy thing is, that old couple who were really nice to him, who made him those sandwiches, they actually saw that scene, and they actually thought it was funny. They didn't think it was offensive. They actually thought it was funny. So the old couple, they did have a sense of humor. They actually did think that it was funny. But the craziest thing about Borat is the guy who's one thing I will say about it is that it portrayed New Yorkers pretty accurately. As somebody from New York City, I will tell you, it portrayed them pretty accurately. How a lot of New Yorkers are very rude on the subway. Like when Borat was talking to people on the subway, like, "Hey, I'm new in town," and he asked that one guy, the one guy I remember he asks in the movie, he asks, "Hey, what's your name?" And the guy says, "My name is mind your own effing business." That's what the guy says. And that is very rude. It's like, you're asking for somebody's name. You don't talk to people like that. But that's how New Yorkers will talk to you. Like, New Yorkers, you ask them, like, "Hey, what's up?" Stuff like that. Some of them can get really rude like that. As somebody from New York, I've encountered people like that. I know people like that. But the crazy thing is, the guy who said that, "My name is mind your own effing business," he tried to sue. He tried to sue the movie, saying that the movie portrayed him in like a bad light and tried to portray him like to be a bad person. But he's the one who said, "My name is mind your own effing business." Borat was not trolling him at that point. All he basically said is, "Hey, what's your name?" And he just said, "My name is mind your own effing business." So I can't believe the guy sued for that, because that you made yourself look bad. It's not that Borat made you look bad; it's you made yourself look bad. So that was about that. But I will say, the ultimate crazy thing about Borat. You know what the ultimate crazy thing about that movie is? The number one craziest thing? The number one craziest thing about that movie isn't all the lawsuits. It's not the fact that he had the police call him in 90 times. The craziest thing about that movie is that that movie actually helped Kazakhstan. That's what the crazy thing about that movie is. So when Borat first came out as a movie, the Kazakhstani government absolutely hated it. And what they did was they banned the movie from being shown. However, though, right after the movie actually came out, tourism to Kazakhstan skyrocketed. Like, Kazakhstan had, like, a giant increase in tourism. I think it was, like, 5 times as many tourists as normal. And it was because of the movie. It was because of that movie that people were actually visiting Kazakhstan. People were curious about that country. They wanted to visit that country because not a lot of people know about Kazakhstan. They don't know that much about that movie. And so Borat, what it did was it had actually ironically helped Kazakhstan because so many people were actually going on vacation to Kazakhstan and visiting the country and spending money in the country, and it ended up helping the country. But what ended up happening in the end was Kazakhstan actually unbanned the movie, so the movie is now legal in Kazakhstan. And not only that, but Kazakhstan changed their tourist slogan. So they changed their tour. So when you go visit Kazakhstan, their poster for their tourism board says Kazakhstan. Very nice. That's what it is, and that's what Borat says. Very nice. That's how he says it. So that's ultimately what it was. Is that they took the movie, the popularity from the movie, and they used it to help their country's tourism. So it ended up helping Kazakhstan. But that's it. He doesn't look Kazakh at all. I mean, I would disagree with that. There are a lot of Kazakh people that are white. So, like, Kazakhstan is a country where, some Kazakhs are white, some people are more Central Asian looking. But that's what Kazakhstan has. Kazakhstan is a pretty diverse country. So Kazakhstan has a lot of different groups. Like, Kazakhstan has Russians living in it. It has, native Kazakhs. It has Uzbekistanis living in it. It has Turkmenistanis. Like, there's a lot of different groups that live in Kazakhstan. So he could very much be, he could very much look like somebody from Kazakhstan. So there's not that. So yeah, I would say that about that. Change the subject. Okay, I can change it. When will I play Mafia 2 Jimmy DLC? I'll probably release it sometime in December or in November. I'll play it. I just want to focus right now on Mafia 3. Yeah, well, the SVT-40 would be a rare gun. The Russians definitely would not sell it to the U.S. AK-40, here's the thing. In the 1960s, you could buy an AK-47 at a shop. They did exist. They were like the newest Soviet weapon. But the thing about AK-47s, and AK-47s were extremely expensive back then. So, like, trying to buy one at a gun shop would be very, very expensive because they were so rare. Because they were like, but today AK-47s are fairly cheap, in gun stores. It depends on the AK. Some AKs are way more expensive. But the AK-47s that made their way into gun shops were brought over by American soldiers from Vietnam. They were brought over as trophies and other things. That is pretty much how they got into America, and they were, sold at gun shops. Oh, Bill Williamson's, he did the motion capture for Bonnie, the voice actor. Okay. Last thing I'll say about Borat. Do you guys know that in Borat he's actually speaking Polish in a lot of the scenes? That's what when he says jak się masz, that's Polish. It means how are you? And when he says dziękuję, dziękuję means thank you in Polish. And when he's also kissing people on the cheek, that is actually very common in Eastern Europe. In Eastern Europe, that's a common greeting. I know Italians also do it, but it's very common in Slavic countries where people will kiss on the cheek when they're greeting. Mafia 3 is not a Mafia game. I would say it's still a Mafia game. I mean, it has a lot. Mafia 3 is a lot more crazy action, a lot more activities, but it ultimately still is a Mafia game. Oh, no, I didn't know that, Gunner. Falls on Luke saying option A is the ending that makes the most sense. Is that kill Michael or kill Trevor? 5 and 2. Fold. Nothing good here. Oh, okay. Saito's castle. Okay. Well, thank you for telling me. People didn't like Mafia 3 because of Lincoln Clay. What's wrong with Lincoln? I don't have any problem with him. I don't know why people are not liking Lincoln. One thing I was really disappointed about with Mafia 3 is that they did not have a Vietnam mission. I was really hoping that it would have a Vietnam mission similar to Mafia 2, how it had a World War II mission. I was really hoping it would have a... Lincoln is an Italian, so... I mean, technically Lincoln is Italian. If his father was Italian, that's what's believed. That's what, they say his father was Italian. So if Lincoln's father is Italian, he's half Italian. So he is Italian then. So it's lost in the color scheme tonight. Wait, what? What's wrong, Suggestive? What do you mean? Do you see my comment? Well, can you post it again, Phoenix? Barry Goldwater? Who's that? The name sounds extremely familiar. 8 and 7. Yeah. The difference between a mafia and a gang is a mafia is just more organized. That's it. Johnson's opponent in 1964. Oh, I don't really know that much about him, though. Which of the Hitman games you like the most? Out of the classic ones, Hitman Blood Money. Out of the new ones, Hitman 3. What's wrong, Menacing? Oh, Diddy got sentenced to 4 years. Yeah, I heard about that. I see it. That happened during World War II. When playing Black Cats, notice when the pilots are saying that must be some important cargo, those merchants were actually transporting prisoners. Oh, yeah, that did happen where there were ships that were transporting American POWs and they got bombed. That is true. But the ships in Black Cats weren't transporting prisoners. Oh, yeah, it was stupid. I know about the flight that you're talking about. The Soviets lost all their important officers in one flight. It was really stupid. Xbox game prices pass increase is stupid. Yeah, it is really stupid. They should be decreasing prices, not increasing them. Honestly, whoever the idiot was who decided on that price increase needs to be fired. Do you know if mafias shoot their targets in the back of the head so their families can have an open casket funeral? It has nothing to do with that. The mafia doesn't care what state the body is going to be in as long as the person is dead. The reason they shoot them 2 times the back of the head is because that is the quickest way to kill them. Is literally just coming. The reason it's in the back of the head is because it's not like an execution. An execution is if you have the person hostage. The mafia come up behind people, so that's it. So literally, if anybody here has watched The Sopranos, I'm trying to think of one of the hits in The Sopranos. Does anybody here remember how Jackie Jr. died in The Sopranos? Jackie Jr. That is probably the most realistic mafia murder. Is how Jackie Jr. died. The reason that is pretty realistic is because that's exactly what happens. When the mafia hitman goes after somebody, they come up behind that person and just shoot him in the back of the head twice. That's basically how they do it most of the time. So they the person doesn't even really see it coming, and that's it. I know his gun had no recoil. I know that scene was a little badly recorded, but play the following games for better stream. Wait, what, Aaron? Yeah, it was stupid, Gunner, but it wasn't as stupid as the Soviet rocket disaster. Do you know about the Soviet rocket disaster? That was probably one of the stupidest things a Soviet general did. Doom, Yote, and Killer Clowns. Oh, well, Yote, I'm not really gonna stream. I'm just gonna do a video series. I'll have the next part of it tomorrow. But what's Killer Clowns? First time I heard of that game. Well, what is that? Barry Goldwater was a conservative in his early years of career. Then he was a libertarian. Oh. Huh. Kind of in a way. Wow, look at this, guys. Look at this hand right now. I'm gonna destroy him right now. The Soviets hated any private industry. They weren't going to allow that. I'll see if I can do that, Blinded Eagle. Have I seen Gangs in New York? A long time ago when I was a kid. I saw it, yeah. Thank you, Opinionated Junkie. I do remember it. It was a long time ago. One of Leonardo DiCaprio's earliest roles. Was it true that Ho Chi Minh admired the U.S. at one point? No, that's BS. People think that Ho Chi Minh admired America and then, like, America betrayed him. That's BS. Ho Chi Minh always hated America. The U.S. helped Ho Chi Minh fighting against the Japanese during World War II because that was the enemy of... My enemy is my friend. That was basically the whole, backstory behind that. But... he was always a communist. He was a member of the French Communist Party since the 1920s. So he always did not like America. Vietnam's Constitution and Declaration of Independence, it's kind of similar to America's Declaration of Independence. Like, I think Vietnam's document was like, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Like it's similar to the American one, but it's like, I guess the American one is just a very popular one around the world, and it's not It doesn't mean that Ho Chi Minh admired. Oh, wow, look at this hand. High 10 straight. I already got a straight. I think Mafia 4 should be set in the 1980s Miami. The main character will be a corrupt vice cop who works for the Mafia. What do you think, bro? Nah, I don't think so. I don't want to play as a guy who's like an undercover cop or like even a corrupt cop. I want to play as a gangster specifically, though, Angelo. I don't mind the Miami setting, but I want to play as like a gangster, though. And also, what one thing I'll say about it is I want the main character to actually do some pretty bad things in the next Mafia game. So I want the main character to even partake in some evil things. Like, I want him to do some ruthless things. Egg, please just stop arguing, dude. Just please stop. There's a communist poster in Mafia 3 that says science and industry serve communism. And it's ironic when you found out that a lot of brilliant scientific minds of the USSR did their work in gulags. Yep. They pulled these people out of gulags when they needed them the most. It's a massive brain drain on the country, throwing everybody into gulags. It was just... it's how the Soviet Union operated their economy. The greediest video game company out there... I would say probably EA with what they did with Battlefront 2. Oh, okay, Zach. I'll remember that. There are 6 enemy types: Triggerman, Pistol, Machine Gunner, Automatic, Shotgunner, Rifleman, Sentry, Squealer, and Enforcer, Soldier, Sniper. Okay. Do I drink Monster or Celsius? Um, I've had Celsius before, but I will never drink another Celsius again. Um, my body can just not handle Celsius. My mom brought home a bunch of Celsius energy drinks from work. The workers didn't want them anymore, and so she brought them home. These weren't expired or anything. They were, good. They were fresh. I had one in the morning when I was tired. My mom told me it was an energy drink, and after I had that Celsius, I could not stop going to the bathroom the whole day. Like the whole day, I would just go to the bathroom nonstop. I couldn't stop, and it has to be primarily because that Celsius drink. And what ended up happening is a couple weeks later, I was stupid enough to drink another one because I was thinking maybe it's not that. I drank a different flavor, thinking that it was a different flavor, that it wasn't gonna be happening, and the same thing again happened. I was constantly going to the bathroom all day, so it is that's what I'll say. I'm never having another Celsius again. I'm never touching that stuff again. I don't know why. I was going to the bathroom all day. I probably don't even want to know why, but that's just it. That drink just made me sick, and I'm not drinking that again. Because the American body is not used to the metric system. Oh man, that's a good one. Most underrated bad thing about Pablo Escobar was he married his wife as a minor. What? I didn't even know that, Marion. Thank you for the super chat.
How do you do? As good as I can, I guess. Good.
I can't stand Jake Paul, so that's why I don't drink him. There's also one poster that says Revolution. Cuba wants communism in Spanish. Do you ever find out who's planting those communist posters in Mafia 3? Is there like any story for that? You visited Escobar's home this year as a tour, huh? Do I think Mafia 3 is repetitive gameplay-wise? In a way. It has the same layout in every district. Damage the business. Kill the 2 enforcers. That's basically it. And then you have the final mission where you go after the person. That's pretty much it. So it has some repetitive, but it's still fun. It's still enjoyable. I'm not timing you out, Egg, so I don't know what's going on, but please just stop, dude. Oh, they're just collectibles then, huh? I can't stand the sentries the most. What do you think about Los Ondas as a city in the Mafia that's based on Los Angeles? Is that what Los Angeles is called? I don't know if I would want another city in LA because we already had San Andreas and in GTA 5. They could do Chicago. Chicago was only done in one game, Watch Dogs, but it wasn't even done in a historical game. So Chicago might be a good one to do. Yeah, Las Vegas could work. Las Vegas could work. Well, Chicago is Lost Heaven. I kind of agree, but yeah. Does he have a pair? Oh, I should have gone all in on that. Yeah, Chicago's Lost Heaven. I'm losing my track of thought. I'm sorry about that. What about outside the U.S.? Oh, hey, Project Wesker. How you doing, dude? Project Wesker is a YouTuber. I haven't seen him in some time. Um, I saw your message on Teams, Project Wesker. I just didn't get the chance to get back to you because I was busy earlier, but I'll reply to you later. Um, what are your thoughts on Argentina? I kind of like the president of Argentina. I don't want to get into politics, really. I kind of do have a more positive view of him because his election is very important for libertarians around the world because he is the first libertarian to be elected as the president of a major country, and I think that because of that, I think more people are going to give libertarians a chance in other countries. Because in every country, in most countries in the world, you have to either choose from the liberals or the conservatives. It's like that in most countries, but libertarian is something different. A lot of other people can get behind, and I think that a lot of people said he was crazy and that he was going to destroy Argentina. But he actually fixed inflation in Argentina. If you look at Argentina's economy, like the inflation dropped. Like Argentina had like insane inflation. He fixed it. A lot of it went down. So that's what I'll say. My view of him is generally positive. Why does your poll have AI looking images? It is AI though. I will admit on that. I wanted to create like kind of horror themed manhunt pictures. I didn't know how to do that, and I was like, I'll just ask AI to do it. And I gave it AI instructions on like the type of picture I wanted, and it made it on those. What war do you think is the most justified? You mean like attack? When you say like what war is justified, you mean like attacking another country? If we're talking about if we're talking like American history, the most justified war in American history would be I'm trying to think about it. Is in the 19th century, in the Civil War, in the Civil War, the North got attacked. So a lot of people don't know that the North didn't attack the South. The North got attacked by the South. So it wasn't so. So if we're thinking specifically of wars where we attack, where we are the attackers, but it's the most justified war, it would have to probably be the Revolutionary War because we started the Revolutionary War. But it was just justified because we were basically being treated like, crap, excuse my language. We were being treated like second-class citizens in the British Empire, and so we pretty much had a right to rebel against the king. So I'd say probably the Revolutionary War was probably the most justifiable, aggressive war that America launched. But the thing about that is that the Revolutionary War happened in our homeland. It happened on our land. So it wasn't like in a foreign land. It was our own land, but, we were fighting for our freedom. Well, the Boston Massacre was actually a year before the the Boston Massacre I think was 5 years before the war started. So it was Curtis, I think the thing is Lincoln is Italian. He is. Lincoln is half Italian. His father is Italian. They said that in the game that his father was Italian and his mother was from the Dominican Republic. So his mother was black and his father was Italian. But yeah, so Lincoln is Italian technically. He's 50% Italian. And I'm a Tatar, for example, like my father is a Tatar, so I'm 50% Tatar. I don't look like a Tatar. I look more like Slavic. But my mom is Slavic. My mom's a Slav. And my father's a Tatar, but that's, even though I don't look like a Tatar, I technically am a Tatar still. I'm 50% Tatar. So that's what I'll say about it. So, Lincoln might not look Italian, but he still is Italian. He's 50% Italian. His father was Italian. So when people say that Lincoln Clay is the only, non-Italian protagonist, it's not really true. He is Italian. He's 50% Italian. He's not 100% Italian like Vito or Tommy, or Enzo, but he's still, he's still Italian. Oh, thank you, Project Wesker. Let's see if I get this here. I won, yay. Okay, let me get out of here. I love stealth. Mafia 3 is the best stealth in the series, definitely. Yeah, but it still happened largely through like non-violence, Gunner. The closest thing we had to a libertarian was Thomas Jefferson, and that was like 200 years ago. Yeah, that is true. Thomas Jefferson was the closest thing that we had to a libertarian. That is true. But yeah, our Argentina is a really interesting Argentina is a really interesting country because of the fact that in Argentina, you know, both the right and the left were so unpopular. Like people just didn't like them, you know, so much. You know, you had two establishment political parties, and so people were basically so pissed off that they voted for the outsider. They voted for the libertarian. And he ended up winning. And the media was like taking it, like not taking it seriously, saying, "Oh, he has no chance of winning. He has no chance," and he ended up winning. Worst ending: Modern Warfare 2023 or Mind's Eye? Oh, that's a tough one. Mind's Eye, because the reason that Mind's Eye probably has the worst ending is because Mind's Eye, at least we're never going to get any kind of closure. We're probably never going to get a Mind's Eye 2. We're probably not going to get a sequel, so probably not going to happen. Damn, these allergies. I'm sorry, everyone. Thank you, Exquisite Vibes. Has America ever come close to another civil war to the first one? Yes, in the 1880s it nearly happened, but it was stopped. There was a lot of massive disagreements between states, and it nearly happened in the 1880s again, but it was stopped. I never thought you used AI of any form. I thought you'd prefer natural art made by a real artist. I do. I always prefer natural art instead of like AI art, God's Child, but it was just for a poll. That was just it. It was just a poll for fun, and I just wanted to make like a picture just like you know, of that, and that was you know, basically that. I hope you're not mad about that. It was just what about a game outside the U.S.? About that, I see your comments, London. The enforcer soldiers are the bodyguard detail for the racket bosses. If you didn't kill them prior to the takeover, they will be at the racket to protect the boss. Okay. Yeah, I always kill them because I want to complete every objective before I go after the boss. But what I was gonna say about to answer Andrew's comment there, I think that a perfect open world game that would be a crime game that would be outside the United States would be Sleeping Dogs 2. Who owns the rights to Sleeping Dogs right now? What company owns the rights to that? But anyways, about Sleeping Dogs 2, if they made a Sleeping Dogs 2, they shouldn't set it in China again, because they had one game that was over the Triads. They should make the next game focused on the Bratstva, which the Bratstva, that is the Russian Mafia, and I would like to see them do that in either Moscow or St. Petersburg. Either city would work. I think I'd probably prefer to see St. Petersburg instead of Moscow, but have an open world game set in a Russian, you know, major city where you play as a Russian Mafia. I'd like to see that. I think that would be cool. What's your impression on Donovan in Mafia 3? I didn't know if you could trust him at the start because he's a CIA agent, and CIA agents are known to be scummy and untrustworthy. But he does seem like he has Lincoln's back, so I think he did, Steve. Yeah. Bratva, why didn't you pronounce it like Bratva? If I'm pronouncing it wrong, it's the Russian Mafia. That's basically the term for it. I think that I think that every single I think that any Vietnamese person who had supported the U.S. I think deserved the right to come to the U.S. I think they did, and I have the same view on any Afghans that had like supported the U.S. So if they were like an Afghan interpreter and they helped the U.S. I think that they have a right to come to the U.S. because especially their lives are in danger and they help the U.S. So the U.S. has like an obligation to help those people. Yeah, so like if any Vietnamese people that were like pro-U.S. helping the U.S., I think that they had a right to come to the U.S. Anybody who's a member of the Communist Party, I don't think should ever be able to come to the U.S. So like any Vietnamese person that was like a member of the Communist Party, I don't think they should be able to immigrate to the U.S. Let me see here. Who would win in a fist fight between George Washington and Abraham Lincoln? Oh, huh. Washington would probably win because Washington was a soldier. Well, if they help, that means that they're an ex-communist, Snowy Imp. But yeah, there was a lot of South Vietnamese people that were pro-U.S. that wanted to come to the U.S., but unfortunately they couldn't escape with the U.S. and they got trapped with Vietnam. But I would say any South Vietnamese person that was like pro-U.S. should have had the right to come to the U.S. because they were on our side, they were our allies, and that's what people don't know is we betrayed. There was a lot of people, these stupid propagandists. What I'll say about them is they spread so much misinformation and so much propaganda that they act like the majority of the Vietnamese public had supported the North taking over the country, like it was some kind of liberation, when in reality the majority of the South Vietnamese public did not want to be under North Vietnamese control. Maybe most people in North Vietnam supported that, but definitely not in South Vietnam. Definitely not. And so a lot of people were like fleeing in terror. A lot of people get sent to re-education camps. It was just really bad. Yeah, but nobody expected them to lose at that time, Witty. That's the thing about that is people thought that America was going to win the Vietnam War. Everybody thought that. People didn't think that we were going to lose. No, nobody really predicted that. I'm sorry about my allergies, guys. It is getting frustrating. Do I support abolishing the Federal Reserve? Yeah, and I would also support abolishing the federal income tax. Thank you, Shadow Narwhal, for the super chat. Saw Adrian's comment. Let me look. Where's Adrian? Hey, Pro, you should watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventures Part 1 to Part 6 before going for Part 7, which also takes place in 19th century America. Also, Part 6 takes place in Florida, huh? It's like a historical anime, then. Yes, I know about that, Gunner. There was a, it turned into a disaster for Nicholas. Some of the northern Vietnamese people prefer South Vietnamese economic system. Yeah, and the thing is, here's the thing. South Vietnam is still the richest part of Vietnam. If you look at Vietnam today, the richest part of Vietnam, whereas it's the South, because the South was primarily capitalist. That is why. Where the North was communist and they destroyed their economy. The South was the richest part of Vietnam, and it still is the richest part of Vietnam. It still is, because the South just had all that stuff. When the North took it over, it already had a lot of those riches, and that's why it's still the richest part of Vietnam. thoughts on the government shutdown? I wouldn't worry about it too much unless you work in the government. That's the only time I would. Is this stuff happens? We've got idiots, you know, in government on both sides, and you know, stuff like this is just typical when stuff like this happens. So I don't even want to really discuss the politics, but I wouldn't really worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. The government will get funded in a couple weeks. Didn't you say not to say certain stuff in Vietnam? If you visit Vietnam and you are an American tourist, if you said negative things about Vietnam in America, I wouldn't really worry about that. But I wouldn't say negative things about Vietnam when you're in Vietnam. Like, don't criticize the Communist Party of Vietnam when you're in Vietnam. You know, Vietnam is a dictatorship, but it's not like North Korea. In North Korea, the police are going to follow you everywhere, and you're going to have no privacy. In Vietnam, they'll largely leave you alone. It's not like the police are going to follow you block to block. It's not going to happen. They might keep an eye on, like, foreigners, you know, visiting the country from time to time, but they're not going to, like, you know, stalk you like North Korean police. They're not going to do that. What do you think about people whitewashing Nicholas II's actions because of what the Soviets did? I think that it's stupid because the thing is, if you look at the Polish perspective, do you drink coffee sometimes? Not a lot, sometimes. If I need, because I really don't like energy drinks, and so if I'm really exhausted, I'll have a coffee, but that's only if I'm really exhausted. So it's not like I drink it every day. About Gunner's comment about that, yes, that is true. And a lot of people, I have noticed that a lot of people that also criticize the Soviets heavily have a positive view of Nicholas, and I don't understand that. I'm not a fan of the Soviets. I can't stand the Soviets. You know, they're, you know, massive scumbags, and they were worse than Nicholas, sure. But that doesn't you know, mean that we forget about the horrible things that Nicholas did. Nicholas did some pretty scummy things, and not only is Nicholas, but the monarchist in Russia. Like, did you guys know this? That, and not a lot of people know this. The gulags were not created by the Soviets. That's what people don't know. The Soviets were the ones who built the majority of the gulags. Do you know who built the gulags? It was actually the monarchists. The monarchists in Russia were the ones who started the first forced labor in Siberia. I think they were called katorgas. Katorgas, that's what they were called. They were basically gulags, but the only difference is they were monarchist gulags. So the monarchists in Russia, they basically created a forced labor system, and they would basically send anybody they didn't like to that forced labor system. And what happened, for example, is in Poland. In Poland, they tried to ban the Polish language, and they made speaking Polish illegal. You could only speak Russian. And what they tried to do is they also tried to ban the Roman Catholicism, which was the religion mainly of Poland, and they tried to force Russian Orthodoxy on Poles. And what happened was, if you were like a Polish person and you taught your kids how to speak, like, you know, Polish, because there were like secret schools where they would teach their kids that, the kids and the parents would both be sent to katorgas, but they would be separated, and the kids would also be sent to these work camps. And what actually happened is, when Japan invaded Siberia in the early 1920s during the Siberian intervention, Japan actually came across these camps in the very far east where that, like, tons of Polish kids, and like the Russian guards had like abandoned the camp during the revolution and just basically left all those Polish kids to starve in those camps. And so what the Japanese government did was they actually saved all those Polish kids, like thousands of Polish children that were starving. They gave them food, and they saved them, and they took them back to Japan, and they nursed them back to health. And the thing about that is that's very weird that happened, because the Japanese were known for their cruelty and their brutality. But that was actually one of the nicest things that the Japanese, you know, empire did. It was like one of the few good things that they did do, is they saved like thousands of kids, you know, Polish kids that were starving in Russia. And so that's like a really weird thing, because the Japanese usually did some pretty cruel things, but that was one of the good things that they did do. They saved thousands of kids. And a lot of people in Poland know about this. And the Polish prime minister and the Japanese prime minister, they meet every couple years, and they like basically celebrate this event that happened. There's actually like memorials in Poland dedicated to those Japanese soldiers that actually saved those Polish kids even today. And there is and there's also a statue about this in Japan too. I know that. So that if you want to know what happened to the kids, by the way, the kids were nursed in like by the Japanese Red Cross, and when Poland became an independent country, like a year or two later, the kids were actually sent back to Poland. So that was it. So Japan did save a lot of those kids' lives. And the thing is, the Japanese saved, you know, so many generations of Poles, because a lot of Polish people would not exist today if those Japanese people had not saved those kids. So a lot of people are descendants of those kids, like thousands of kids. Think about all the families they had. Think about how many generations they also saved, too, at the same time, too. History is written by the victor. Not necessarily true. just because the Japanese were defeated does not mean that the Japanese were, you know, good. The Japanese did some brutal, horrible, evil things, but that's one of the few good things they did do is when they saved those kids in Poland, but Russia. But basically, you know, going back to my earlier point, this is going on this. People think that just because the Soviets were evil, that means that the Tsar was automatically good. The Tsar was a scumbag. The Tsar was. Do you know who were the good guys in the Russian Civil War? You know who the good guys were? They were the Russian Republicans. That's who the good guys were. And the Russian Republicans, it has nothing to do with like the Republican Party in like America, for example. It was just like Republicanism. It's just a form of like political ideology. Basically means you believe in a republic. And so there was Russian Republicans that fought in the Russian Civil War, and they basically wanted Russia to be a republic. They wanted it to be free of the Tsar. They wanted to be basically a free country. There was like a functional, stable republic. That was it. They were the good guys in the Russian Civil War. They fought against both. They fought against the Tsar, and they fought against the communists. So they were the only good guys in that war. You know, everybody else sucked. And I will say about that is, if you ask a Polish person, you know, who's worse? Is it the Tsar, the monarchists in Russia, or the communists? Polish people will just tell you it's one poison from the other. That's all it is. And honestly speaking, a lot of Polish people think that the Russian Revolution was good. And the reason a lot of Polish people think the Russian Revolution was good, it's not because the communists took over Russia. The reason that they think it's good is because the Russian Revolution allowed Poland to break away from Russia, because the Russians were so busy fighting the communists in their country, you know, destabilizing it, that the Poland was able to actually break away from Russia and finally form its own country. So the Russian Revolution ironically ended up saving Poland, because of all that confusion, because the communists causing so many problems in Russia, that the Poland was able to break away and finally get its freedom. People don't understand the difference between democracy and a republic. Yeah, there is. Most countries in the world today are republics. The only country that I can think of that is a democracy is Switzerland. Switzerland is probably the best example that I can think of a democracy, because in Switzerland they vote on everything, like everything. That's what democracy is, voting on everything, majority rules and everything. Republic is when you vote for the representatives of your of the country to represent you. About that is, in Switzerland they have referendums on everything. They have referendums in they have referendums on taxes, healthcare, you know, immigration, everything. They have, you know, referendums on basically everything. The people decide everything. There is a government, but the people decide everything mostly for referendums. Let's see here. Did the U.S. run on tariffs before the income tax? Yes, that is true. America, for most of its history, actually did not have an income tax. It got most of its tax revenue from tariffs. So here's what people don't know. When America became a independent country, we did not have an income tax until the Civil War. So for literally, so from like 1783, when we fully gained our independence, until like, you know, 1861, we had no income tax. There was none. The government got funded through two ways. The government got funded through alcohol taxes. The government did tax alcohol back then. That's one of the reasons they tried to stop moonshiners so bad, because it was one of their primary sources of taxes. And the other thing it taxed was tobacco, because tobacco was smoked by a lot of people. And it also taxes that other countries, you know, paid, you know, when they were trading with us. So that was how the federal government, you know, funded itself. That's how the federal government, you know, basically got most of its money. During the Civil War, Lincoln did put in a income tax, but I think it was like 4%, so it was small. And Lincoln had to do that at that time. He had to do the income tax because he needed that to be able to defeat the South, because he needed basically a money to fund, you know, uniforms, guns, trains, you know, horses, you know, everything, rations for the army, cannons, you know, everything that an army would basically need to function. He needed that to defeat the Confederacy. But once the Civil War ended, the federal income tax was repealed. It was gone. And then the federal income tax actually came back. It came back 50 years later in 1913 with Woodrow Wilson, with the Woodrow Wilson, 1913. So that's basically what I'll say about the federal income tax. Is it was created. It's still a relatively modern thing. It's only like 112 years old. So it is still more of our history. We haven't had an income tax than we have had it. So that's what people don't know. But yes, we didn't have an income tax for most of our history. That is true. The income tax was a mistake. I kind of agree, yeah. What do I think happens when Putin passes? Well, one of two things can happen. If Putin is basically on his deathbed, if it gets to that point, what's going to happen is he's going to leave a successor. He's going to leave a clear successor. Now, who he might choose Medvedev to be his successor, who's basically like, you know, his most loyal follower. That's who he might choose as his successor. But if Putin just suddenly passes away, just like, let's just say right now, like he just suddenly passes away, there's going to be a power struggle in Russia. And when power struggles happen, some things can get really messy and things can get really ugly. And that's what people don't understand fully. Like, some people are saying, I hope, he dies right now and stuff like that, which I'm not defending Putin. He's a dictator. But I'm just saying is that if he was to die right now, it would be a very unstable power vacuum in Russia. And you would have all these Russian generals and these top politicians basically saying, no, I'm in command now. I'm the leader now. I'm the leader. And it could get very ugly. It could get very bad. You could have a very ugly coup in Russia. And what could happen is you could have somebody come to power, and the next person who comes to power could actually be even worse than Putin. Might be better than Putin, but might be actually even worse than Putin. You might have like some psycho that basically, decides to, do even worse than what he's doing right now. So that's basically what I'll say about that too, is that just because, one dictator dies doesn't necessarily mean that another dictator is going to, the next dictator is going to be a good guy. He might actually even be worse than the... that's what happened with Cuba. Cuba went from having one dictator to having an even worse dictator. That's what ended up happening with Cuba. So that's basically what I'll say about that. Is if he passes away old and on his deathbed, he's probably going to leave a successor, and that person will be the next leader, and it's probably not going to be a power vacuum. But if he dies suddenly right now, yes, there's going to be a power vacuum, and it could get really ugly. That's what basically happens. Respect for not censoring Mafia racist words in Mafia 3. Thank you, Zuhair. Yeah, and I'm not going to censor racist words in Mafia 3 because ultimately my view on it, ultimately my position on it is that Mafia 3 is a historical game. It's the story isn't true in Mafia 3, but it's based on a historical time period, and it's based on what people went through. Like, a lot of the stuff that Lincoln goes through is real. Like, that stuff happened back then. People were extremely racist in that time period, especially in the Deep South. Like, Louisiana, which is where Mafia 3 takes place, going to be very, very racist place in the 1960s. Very, very racist place. And so people went through a lot of, horrible things. If you're a black person in that time period, you would be going through a lot of bad things. And so the whole point of those characters saying those racist words is not for you to like those characters. That's not the point of it. It's to show you how, scummy a lot of people were. It's to show you how people were back then. And it's not to make you like the characters. It's not for that. It's basically show you what these people were like back then, how they acted, how rude and nasty these people were, how full of hate some of these people were, and it's more for you to understand that time period. And history is really important because if you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. And so, like, censoring stuff like that, like censoring, like, the racist words, I'm not going to censor the racist words, because by censoring the racist words, I will be downplaying what was going on in that time period. And by having the racist words in the game, and, even, I know that people told me that there's, like, a scene where you encounter the KKK later in the game. I'm not going to censor that scene either, because it's, like, that is, like, stuff that people went through back then, and that is and so it would be disrespectful to history as well. Like, you're not supposed to censor stuff like that. It would basically be downplaying how racist people were back then and how bad it was. It's like the same thing with like a lot of World War II games. Like a lot of World War II games, they censored like the Nazi swastika, which I don't understand that personally. It's not like you're playing as the Nazis. You're not playing as them. You're fighting the Nazis. And so like it's like if you're gonna teach World War II history, you're gonna have like a game on World War II history. You should show the correct flag of Nazi Germany. It's not to like promote the flag or defend the flag. It's it's part of history. It's to basically show you this is the people that we fought against. These are the evil people. These are the people who did the Holocaust. These are evil people who tried to conquer Europe. So basically, it's to show history. And when you teach history and show history, you have to show the ugly parts of history, no matter how ugly it is. And so that's basically it. I don't understand this censoring of history and stuff. This is just really bad, and I don't think that it is going to end well too. Thank you, Zuhair. So Putin's dying suddenly will be like the 1993 constitutional crisis on steroids. It might even be worse. It might be worse. That guy who died, that mercenary leader who died. What was his name? God damn it, I'm forgetting. Excuse my language. I'm forgetting the name. Prigozhin. Prigozhin, that was the guy. If Prigozhin was still alive and Putin died suddenly, he would definitely try to take over Russia. There would definitely be a power vacuum. So that's what I would say about it is Putin dying suddenly might actually be really bad because it could create this giant power vacuum with all of these generals fighting each other for control of Russia. And when you mix nuclear weapons in, that could get very, very bad, very unstable, especially if there's different generals that take control of different nuclear weapons. And they're fighting against each other. That could be very, 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 very bad. So that's it. That's probably it. That's it. Yeah. That's basically what I'll say about it too. Is yeah, it could get very, very bad if you have a dictator die suddenly. There could be a really big power struggle. I first learned of the Katorga from the game Singularity. The main setting of the game is a Soviet research island called Katorga 12, and you time travel between 2010 and 1950. So, I might look into this game. I never heard of this game. Probably not tonight. General, I'm probably gonna go to sleep within an hour. I've been fixing my sleeping schedule. Will I ever do Battlefield 1 playthrough and teach us some history? Yes, I will go into history in Battlefield 1 when I play it one day. That one wife that was writing to his husband in that cleaner hideout, the husband is actually the cleaner. Oh wait, oh, that's what that is. And so what? He was gonna kill her, Lendon? Or she doesn't know about what he does for a living? Oh, okay, Menacing. I'll look forward to comment. Before Activision sentences them to the Call of Duty factory. That's funny, the way you frame it. But that's what I'll say is that the people that engage in that type of stuff, like the body cleaners, like disposing the bodies, they're some of the most ruthless, evil people. I'll see you, Christian. Okay, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap my stream up here. I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I'm gonna have some dinner and probably go to sleep in an hour. I'm also getting a little tired here. Is there anything anybody wants to ask me before I go? We'll do a stream of GTA on Sunday, and tomorrow, what I'll have is I'll have a video talking about that stupid man trap glitch in GTA. I'll see you, Wesker. Take care, dude. Oh, he's not the leader, Lendon? Oh, okay, then. How do you fix your sleep schedule, Pro? I slept for 3 hours, and then I went to sleep earlier the next day. It was not fun, but I got through it. Can I help me sell a GT Online? I can help you tomorrow. Just message me. If I'm not on tomorrow, I can help you on Sunday. Okay, guys, I'll see you guys. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope that you guys enjoyed this stream, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.